fight the power like BITCHUTE.
What's the status, 3?
I'm good, just making the world a better
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Rest in peace, the Dark Chameleon.
Peace of the
Listen, check it, yo. It was a cold April morning under the constellation Aries. The moon was 85% under the luminaries. From the celestial waters to the womb my soul was carried. Then my mother gave birth to a warrior and visionary. But when I speak this truth, I feel like nobody hears me. Every once in a while, I give sight to someone blind, floating on the globe in the heliocentric lie. Dilate your pupils the more you open your eyes. The truth is sitting in plain sight like a disguise. Until my mother's death is revenge, I won't feel satisfied. It haunts me when I think about the phone call when she died. A river worth of tears shed from my eyes. So I looked up at the sky and I asked God why. It's been 21 years, I'm still waiting for a reply. Since birth I've been at war, the attack our undeveloped minds. Indoctrination camps making us dumb, deaf and blind. I'm always thinking solutions, we are running out of time. The dirty witchcraft is weak, I see through all the lies. I clearly analyze all the symbols and the signs. When I connect dots, the truth starts to align. The people are the power, you can never eclipse my shine. I say the truth hurts, but the truth will set you free. They say hell burns and there's a one-way ticket for me. You create your heaven or hell whether or not you believe. I'm God and Satan, I have to balance out my chi. One day these seeds I plant will bloom so you can be all you can be. Never give up and always hold your head high, cause you are God, there's no need to look to the sky. Puppy power. Feels like I never left. As many hours as I spend on here. Not complaining. I like being on here. You had another one, faceplant? Maybe you've always had dreams, but they say when you smoke herb, you don't really remember your dreams. So now you're probably starting to have all these dreams and you think it's something new, but because I know I have dreams every night, I just never can remember them. I don't even remember like a second of it, and I'd be like, I dreamed, I just don't remember. This library is insane, man. I would love to go through here and look through some of these books. I mean, before you know it, books would be obsolete, man. They'll be like 8-tracks. They already are for the most part. And that's alarming because that's a lot of truth's going to disappear. They're going to start molding the new history. I got to send this picture to London Man. I should have played my new track, but I'm gonna wait. People don't appreciate my music or my rhymes or my poetry, whatever you want to call it. Fermentadio. Oh, putrefaction, but it's instead of petrification or putrefaction, it's putreficatio. Calcinatio, no, calcinatio or calcinatio. It's concentrate, I guess, and solvent. Gotta love alchemy. Got to love alchemy. Look, I seen these people on a video. They were racing these bikes. Check this shit out. These bikes with one big wheel in the front and one little wheel in the back. I took a screenshot. And these people were racing. I'm talking, they were going full speed. Yeah, I gotta, Kimba. I gotta see Kimba. Peace, us. It's been a minute since S came through. The moon is full over here. Nice, beautiful moon this morning, looking like this. Boom! This was at 5:10 in the morning. Maybe earlier. I thought this was Florida in this map, but I was wrong. I'm like, man, that kind of looks like the US coast down to Florida, but this is, I don't know where. Somewhere near Europe. Do, 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 do. I'm gonna talk about Mother Earth and stuff in a minute. I would love for someone to try an exorcism on me. I'm just curious to see if there's any demons in me. I'd be like, psych! Ah, I got him! I'd be like, I seen Jesus, and he told me to tell you, fuck you! No. My sarcasm, people don't laugh, but whatever. I watched his video on Lackluster this morning. It was pretty cool. The sergeant grabs his chief and slams him on the hood of the car. It's pretty dope. This picture is odd. What's this supposed to be? Who are they kneeling to? What are they doing? What is this? What are they about to do? Do that session where they slap each other? What is this, slap wrestling? Who's seen that new sport where they slap each other? This chick slapped another chick so hard in the jaw, it knocked her out. Thought that was pretty cool. I hate when pictures turn out fucking blurry, man. It pisses me off. It usually does this if you download a picture and you don't, you could, even though you could hit the link under the picture, it'll take you to the where the picture originally is on the website. Then you could download it, it'll come out clear for people that download pictures like this one. I want to find the original to this picture because there's giants marching in this. This is a terrible fucking picture. Mercury carrying the Caduceus. I wonder what that weapon does, the Caduceus. And why the heck does he got wings on his Mercury's also a woman too, for people that don't know. And why does Mercury have Nike's shoes on? Nike was the first deity with wings on the shoes. Cupid. But no. Seriously. Nike had Mercury beat. What videos? Oh, the cop video? It don't enrage me. The police chief was drunk. On the scene, he was drunk, acting belligerent to his sergeant. He tried to grab his sergeant, and the sergeant slammed him onto the car. And it's good to see people with rank stand up to their officers when they're doing wrong. Because if that was you or me, we would be in fucking prison. But the police chief thinks he can just show up to an accident drunk as a skunk and yell at his fucking officers. See, he tried to grab his sergeant and his sergeant boofed him. But anyway, this is a devastating. There's so many pictures I found where people are attacking this dragon. There's so many, you know, and I think they're what I mean. That kind of looks like a snake instead of a dragon. Do snakes have teeth? Yeah, they have fangs. Yeah, Mercury is a messenger, just like Jesus. Um, I think all these deities that are messengers are the same deity. There's serpents in heaven and kings in hell. Think about that. Serpents in heaven and kings in hell. Got one head, two heads cut off. There should be. There's only 6 heads. There's one missing. These cats are fighting naked. This cat's fighting with his pecker out, yo. That's fucking hilarious. Don't get your pecker sliced. You've got the whole world in your hands. The government is mad because Chuck's fucking up their plans. Because they don't want none of us to have a mind that expands. They want us to be all the same copies and bland. The one-eyed, that's the camera lens, the one eye that's watching over the world here. That's the one eye, the camera. Just think if they'd put a reset right now. And for a good, I don't know. People won't think cameras are working because all the power would be out. But these motherfuckers will generate their own power from underground. And the cameras will still be watching everyone kill each other and be starving. And I think they've done that already. In the 1800s, is she holding a head in her hand? But the 1920s was the Depression. They were probably watching everyone starve through cameras. People didn't even know what a camera was. Harmonia. Now, why would you have little baby angels up there? You know, it freaks me out. What's a baby angel gonna do? Who's a baby angel gonna save? These baby angels probably can't even speak, let alone fly without crashing. Bet you they didn't think about that. Now we're talking. Them demons look funny. I'm gonna get ya. Mercury is the thermometers and barometers. Yeah. These people are always fighting dragons naked. I guess many people ain't up. Hold on. All right. People, there's this debate people are having about the thing on this guy's wrist. Some people say it's a clock or it's a device, or some people say it's a. I've seen a video where the guy said it's um, a wooden thing on the wrist for decoration or jewelry. What do y'all think it is? I think it's technology. Peace, we free. Stay free. Stay free is the key. I'd rather die than live on my knees. We don't even know if any of these hieroglyphs are 100% true. Like this one. Fucking thing got two snake heads, but yet it's capturing its own. That's what I mean, man. It took a snake to capture its own people, its own snake people. Infiltrated. They told that snake, or the double-headed snake, or the two snakes in that body. They said, "We'll give you legs and arms if you turn, give us the secrets to your snake people." And he did. Look, they gave him arms and legs. And he would even go capture his own snake people. Just like they do to us. They infiltrate everything. This Ishtar. And Ishtar looks beautiful in this picture. Nice knockies or knockers. And what's she trying to do with that line? Is that a sword in her hand? A whip? This guy's this guy's got it bad. That's got to be underwater. I was thinking that can't be in the air. That dude having a bad day. Oh shit. Whoever drew this did a good job. These cats are blowing horns and the building's falling apart. You know, that kind of symbolizes to me that they've been using frequency machines for weapons. Maybe that's what the Caduceus is. And the Bahara and Thor's hammer. All those are high-tech weapons, I think. Because you could see them blowing the horn. And the building's falling. And here, another giant. Whipping the little people. He's got the women in the back, and he's whipping the men. Like, it's mine. These are my hoes, boy. Why are those people laying like that with their legs up in the air? Is that Jesus coming out of a JJ? Or is he in some sort of a spaceship? Boy, Christos. Yeah, that's true, faceplant. Every time I look at stuff, you know, I'm always thinking, man, is this shit even real? Like, how, like you said, faceplant, how many hours were wasted debating Bibles and books? And, like, I don't mind conversating with people, but when you take it serious, when you start arguing, downing people, you know, like a lot of religious people do, you know, you waste all that energy into stuff that might not even be real for the most part. So they were carrying purses back then, as you can see. Now, I want to get into this writing. I mean, come on. Who the fuck can decipher that? That dude, Billy Carson, you know, he says some good stuff, and I ain't gonna take that away from the man, but he'd be like, I read the text. I read the, what do you say? Some of these texts or I don't know, no, I don't want to call this hieroglyphs, but with this language here, whatever you want to call it, dude, you can. I would love to see that guy. Like, who taught you to read this? Scientists can't even figure this out, so they say. It looks like just a bunch of lines put down. They look. Two of those lines look like little dogs. I mean, who writes like this? And then they wrote on the fingers to make it even more difficult. Yeah, well, whatever it is, Voy, I'm not buying that these people can read that. A lot of these scientists and shit make me laugh. Like when they, especially I've said this before, when they pick rocks up and be like, this rock's 20 million years old. Like, get the fuck out of here. And then they be talking about scrolls now, scrolls that survived in the desert, that were rolled up in the cave. And these scrolls of papaya lasted thousands of years. Get the fuck out of here. That shit would have hardened up and crumbled. But we are gullible. Even I'm gullible at times, you know? So, and that's why I say it, because I speak from experience. Just like I'm going to bring up in a minute this video of this lady's in the building says she got Jesus' footprint. I mean, what the fuck? People pay to go see Jesus' footprint. Here's more giant. They don't even know when Jesus was born officially, right? They don't even say his real name, but they have his footprint, right? The hell are these people wearing? Oh man, they look like they got on them thermal tidy whitey thermals or thermals. What are they wearing? Thermals? Look at they got fucking hoof feet. Come on, dude. Hoof feet with metal beards. Who's seen those pictures of these pharaohs with metal beards? It's a fake beard. It's a prosthetic beard. It's fucking hilarious. There's that crescent moon again with somebody standing in it like a boat. Flying across the sky. Now they got woven dresses on. Oops, why did it do that? Now only got a few more pictures, and then, I mean, I opened the panel up already. If anyone wants to come up, it's on them. Just show a couple versions here. These artists who drew the Tower of Babel. They got a new app coming out called Babel or something. What's good, Joe King?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Damn, I didn't realize my headphones were off. I could have sounded like crap.
Nah, you're okay. How you been, buddy?
Everything's all right, man. It's all right.
Yeah,
Could always be better, but
that's for sure.
I'm alive.
Sure. I know. I'm gonna run. I got my I made an indoor tent out of an old closet thing. So I'm gonna run inside. My lights just kicked on. I'm gonna run and start my fan up real quick. I'll be right back.
All right. I mean, look at the this thing's up in the clouds. I mean, the artist for this picture, it's just awesome. Let me see this one. This is a little exaggerated. I like this one better. This one looks like a nightmare. I mean, this probably depicts it the best for the fact that slaves and them building this shit wouldn't be a beautiful sight, you know? It would be misery. And this picture of the Tower of Babel is pretty funny. Look at either that's God or Jesus peeking out the sky up top. That's funny. He peeked his head out of the sky. You ain't finished yet? Venus has been searching for some penis.
You know, I never asked you though, Charles. Overall, though, do you think we're, it's a creation that we're in?
What was that?
It's funny all this we talk about religion and stuff, but I never asked you. Do you believe that we're in a creation though? And it's just
Yeah.
not religion the way it's put out.
No, I get, even this book of Satan I was reading. I mean, there's something in everything. I get out. I could get something out of everything.
Yeah.
Axis said it the best. I could relate to it. I don't subscribe to any religions, but yeah, I think for the most part we could be in a simulation of some sort. But we also can be. It could all be bullshit to keep us enslaved and to keep people with physical hope and spiritual hope is what keeps people enslaved here. They don't want to go nowhere else because they don't want to give everything up, the material they have.
Yeah.
They don't want to, go backwards and are afraid to find out, what's out there. Me, I don't know. Like, I personally don't think there's a God in the sky, and like they teach you when you're younger, looking over us, or when your family dies, oh, your mom's watching over you.
Right.
I haven't dreamed about my mother in 18 years. Ever since she's died, I have not dreamed about her. Like maybe the first year or two when she was after. I don't believe no one's watching over us. I might be wrong. It's a possibility, but
you think maybe it's like the Force, like in Star Wars, where it's just everywhere. It's just God is just everything, and maybe something more.
Yeah, we're God.
Yeah.
People get mad when I say that, but it's because they don't. The best creation story I've ever heard was when the Creator created versions of them, like different versions of himself, but they didn't have the powers they had, and they weren't all knowing. They had to learn, and he in that story it was made like that because it was like entertainment to the Creator to see, these people grow and learn. So Adam and Eve just don't make no sense. Now I found one of Adam and Eve having 2 daughters instead of, just Cain and Abel. Now they have this daughter named Awan and some other daughter. Yeah.
Really? That's funny, but I don't. These are written by people. It's all stuff written by people. That's and that's you can't get away from that. They're not written by God. None of this stuff is. It's crazy. But yeah, you want to get people mad. It's big. It's religion, man. There's something against.
I just say I'm God. That gets people fired up.
Oh yeah, I bet. Dude.
Look at this shit I found. I found this picture this lady took. I don't know if it's been screwed away. I showed it yesterday. I don't know if you were here for it, but this is it. She said it was like a portal near the sun. Now, what was the guy's name? I think it was MBB333 or something.
Yeah, that dude. Yeah, people send him crazy shit.
Yeah.
Now, who
Dang, bro.
knows? Yeah. Now, I think it's possible you can open up portals because even in the Book of Enoch, it states that the sun and moon go through portals.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I know. And it names them, describes where the portals are, when they come out. Yeah, it gets in detail about that. Yeah, and everything's, like Portolo's right near me. I mean, you can't escape it. But there's a lot going on with like cameras and stuff too, man. They're like, because I have some crazy stuff that I've seen the moon do. Like that could be some kind of camera thing too, maybe.
Oops, Charles muted up. I'm trying to count how many things are on here.
What around little like
4,
leaves?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15. Well, I don't know anything that's 15.
I know, right? I always do that too.
Now this picture, you'll never guess where this is.
I'm gonna go Utah.
It's a desert during a sandstorm. And I took this picture, or didn't take it, I downloaded it or saved it because this is the same shit they'll say is on Mars and people go for it. They just tint the picture a little red and be like, this is Mars, and people fall for it. Like, dude, these people must laugh at us. That bothers me. It's like, I know sucker, man. They treat us like we're suckers.
Yeah, I know. I'm having a hard time with it, man. It's like people ain't getting nowhere. People have no, you think people are starting to get it and shit, and they're not, man.
They must have these like parties and shit, and they must be doing their rails of coke and drinking their wine and just be like, these guys are fucking stupid, right? We could tell them anything.
They just go to their doctors now to get their drugs, man. It's crazy.
Dude, the rich get the most purest. They probably got drugs where you don't even get sick.
Yeah.
They probably got the purest of pure, and they give the poison to the streets.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. I know, it's crazy. Have you seen the new like the satellite systems that the rich people got now? Actually, anybody can get them, but it's like this SATCOM thing. I don't know if it's from Elon Musk or something, but it's like it's like $600 and you get the satellite thing you put on your roof, and like 100 people can get like all the Wi-Fi they need, and it's like it's crazy, man. They're getting on a whole different like system. And dude was showing me the app on his phone, that there's an app for it. And it literally shows the ISS, dude, flying around. Dude, look at, I go, dude, that's the ISS. I go, do you know how fast that thing's going? He's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, we could Google it. I go, no, I'll tell you, bro. It's 17,000 miles per hour with those 4 big wings hanging off it. It's supposed to be going 17,000.
Look, the Tree of Alchemy has 15 things just like that guy's wristwatch. I just realized that.
Dang, that's killer. Don't you love it, dude?
Yeah, I accidentally realized that just now. Huh. I'm gonna have to re-upload that other picture. And look at this. You think this is real?
Yeah, well, it was I got stuff like that around here, bro. That's like the stamp mills around here. There's big old giant gears. All the old mills, they use these things to pull giant cables, to pull big buckets of rocks and stuff up. That's real stuff, dude.
Yeah, they're finding, like, this was underground. This right here they digging out.
Whoa.
They're finding stuff like this. I mean, they had technology back then for sure.
I mean, major technology, like killer stuff, man. I mean, think about it there. Just tell us what's up. Morning, buddy.
What's up, Christos? I like alchemy.
I
Hey,
love
good
it,
morning,
man.
Des.
I think it means out of Egypt or something like that. Like Cam usually means they're supposed to mean Egypt. And
It's one of my favorite pictures right here, man. This is right here. This is definitely one of my favorite pictures of all time I ever found.
it's got some detail.
Hmm.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
What do you think
that's a
about this thing,
classic.
Christos? Hold on.
Yeah, that's a
This right
classic.
here.
Oh, that I heard you talking about that the other day, and I was confused. Like, where was it supposed to be? And they think it's
Uh,
a Stargate. Whoever took it.
yeah. It was on this guy's channel I watch here and there. MBB333, I think his name is.
Yeah, he's got so many people sending him stuff.
It's hard to
It's,
tell.
you know, the thing is, man, is this stuff could be there and we could be not seeing it at all. It could be in front of our face and be like, yeah, portals are.
I got some more.
That's where I'm at right
See?
now. It's like,
This was the post. Now, I watched the actual video. It's on dude's channel. Mr. See his name?
yep.
And I found this other fucking. I thought I saved the video, but I can't find it of this picture. This dude zoomed in on his camera, and you see those two little things?
Yeah.
They were literally hovering over the moon, dropping stuff.
What?
I watched.
Heck?
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck is that? It could be
I've
drones.
seen that. Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
I
There's a
got
lot
a
of
video.
stuff going on.
My wife's cousin sent her a video out in the valley, like in Fresno, California, around that area, of 3 lights just doing this crazy stuff. And I'm trying to play. I can't play it for some reason. I gotta put it somewhere, but it's a trip. But he's like, "Oh my god, aliens, aliens!" He's all yelling aliens, dude. It's crazy.
Damn
Oh
it.
wow. Yeah, I've had one experience at this point that was fairly significant because basically what had happened is it was like 8 o'clock in the evening. I'm out here in the Midwest in Missouri, and it was around dusk, not completely dark out, but getting there. And I was just driving my buddy home at the time that I worked with back at this grocery store locally, and there's like hardly any cars. The only other cars are 2 cars coming the other direction. And out of nowhere, we noticed like near the tree line coming down this road ahead of us, like if I recount it, it wasn't glowing at first. It was small, but then got bigger, and it was like yellowish, goldish. And it was moving like too fast. Honestly, I was like, "What is that? Is that's a helicopter?" And I was like, "No, wait, no, it got bigger, but in no way was it a spotlight, or in no way was it like a light on a craft. Like it was just a light itself, and it was like yellowish, goldish, and then it kind of started going away, out of sight. We were trying to follow it, but uh,
Really?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
moving unnaturally, and it had like a glow to it, and it was like lower to the ground than like even a helicopter or plane would be. So we
Damn.
weren't that high or anything. We weren't tripping. Like my discernment
Right.
was there, and it was just within the moment we both saw it,
Damn, dude.
and it kind of just got away. Yeah.
That's crazy.
There's definitely a lot,
Like,
it could be so many things, right? There's
and
ultimately
there
going to
is so many
remain that
things going on
mystery.
up there.
Yup.
Balloons, planes. Let me share real quick.
Vermanos, Sky Cities, like that
Right.
Killer Priest song.
Yeah, I just finished a freestyle over the I forgot the name of the Gravediggers beat. It's from the song Sun Cups of Blood. Some of the first
Yeah.
Gravediggers album, I took one of their instrumentals. It's only 1:30 to beat. But I said, let me let some ignorance reign on them. I barely put any. I just let all my ignorance out on that one.
Just let it out.
Yeah, I wasn't really dropping seeds on that one.
Open up. some gangster. Yeah. What was the name of that? Cups of Blood or something?
I forgot the name of the song, but the beat is awesome.
You look at all the old rock and Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix and and then they get into the rappers, Guru and stuff. Like every single thing is so esoteric and deep. Like every title of everything. I mean, so well thought out. And you're like, these dummies didn't do all this shit themselves, man. This is
Rakim said, "I don't need the spotlight," or something like this. I don't want to misquote it, but he said, "I don't need the spotlight because I am the light," or something like that.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Look at this video now. This is the mascot for the ultimate slave system. She's a mascot. And it kills me the excuses they use to sell this product. And just, we'll talk about it after. It's only 30 seconds.
Some people are saying this lady took the mark of the beast.
I put a microchip in my arm, and it's the best thing ever. This chip is a powerhouse. It's got everything I need. My credit card, my ID, my medical info, and even my keys. And when it's time for groceries, you just tap your wrist and bam! Transaction done. It's like magic. In a medical emergency, it can save my life. Experts can easily identify me and my medical history. I feel like a sci-fi character, and I'm loving it.
If you want to know more about the mark of the beast and end times, tap that subscribe button, click the pin link in my comment section,
Like
comment,
a
subscribe for more.
sci-fi moron. Like, people are this, like, it's slow. Oh, look, I could just put my hand over the thing and buy my groceries. You can't take 2 seconds extra to pull the fucking card out of your wallet. You know, people don't realize digital money is the ultimate slave system, and they're just gonna fall for it with stupid commercials like that. You know, it's all laziness.
Got it.
People don't question what kind of effects can it have. You know, it is pinging a signal the whole time. You know, so when people rob you, they'll just chop your fucking arm off so they can get that chip. Right?
Like that movie Logan, you know, like that's how Wolverine died, is he got poisoned by having all that shit inside him for so long and stuff like that. Like, it's weird. It's like, I don't know, man. Just, you can't have stuff inside you. You ain't supposed to have shit.
Just blows my mind. It just makes everyone more lazy, these fucking, the chip. And no one's asking, what's the difference, though?
Yeah.
What do you think's the difference between scanning your wrist and taking the 2 second, like, oh, I don't need to carry my keys anymore. I don't need to carry my ID. Everything's in the chip. I'd rather carry my stuff than fucking.
Oh, it's insanity, dude. Yeah, you ain't supposed to fucking.
You're just like.
It's crazy. It's nuts, dude.
Next, they'll be replacing humans with robots, and that's already happening.
Yeah, they're trying. They're trying like motherfuckers.
What was this video? Hold on.
Off.
If you're not a robot, how were you made?
My parents made me.
Where are they now?
Off. They're up in heaven.
What's heaven?
It's a peaceful place in the sky.
That's the movie The Creator, I think, or is that what
Really?
it's called?
That's what.
Deep,
Uh,
man.
I think that's the name of it.
I thought you
It's a,
watched that, Charles.
yeah, I did, but when he said it's a peaceful place in the sky, when she looked out the window, she was looking at that big fucking thing that's in the sky, and what it does, it'll roll up to a city, and you know shit's about to go down, and they drop these huge bombs, that fucking thing, and that's why she looked out the window, and it's hard, basically like a peaceful place in the sky, and she's looking at that thing. She's a robot, that little girl.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's the name of the movie, The Creator. The guy created the first child robot, but little did that guy know it was based off of his daughter. You got to see the movie. It's pretty dope.
Totally.
Peace, Marcel, Maggot. Who else came in?
He's right. Marcel's right, man. If you're putting a chip in, there ain't no way you're coming back from that.
Yeah.
Those people you gotta let go, man.
Yeah, they're fucked. And I don't know. I've lost all, for lack of better words, faith and hope in the people, because the unity part is just, I don't want to say impossible. It's a motherfucker.
Yeah.
In the United States, I've noticed most of the people that come to my channel are from other countries.
Yeah.
Canada, fucking Europe, not that many from the States. The United States got hit the hardest with racial division. Like, other countries be like, black and white, what's that?
Yeah. Yeah, we got some pretty hardcore programming in the United States for sure, man. But it's hard to say, man, to put yourself in a different country and grow up in a different system, especially the educational system, man. It's a hammer for a kid's personality, man.
Just like in the school system. I remember when I had finished school. I was supposed to graduate in 1999, but I dropped out because I had to work and pay bills, because I was out of the house at, might as well say, 13, 14. I was getting in trouble already. I said, fuck high school, fuck school. I really didn't care about school. I just wanted to make money, money, money. I said, well, why am I going to continue school? I'm not going to college, right? My mother didn't have that type of money. And shit, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to drop out and get this bread. I graduated in 2003. Took the test and smoked it. But that's just a piece of paper.
I know.
You got to pay money just so they could tell you you're smart. And then I started, like I said this before, my friends went to college. So I would ask them, man, do you think it's worth it going to college? And they would say, no, it's a waste of money.
Yeah.
They always say you learn more on a job site than you'll ever learn in school. They say most of the stuff they teach you in school, you don't even use it on the job site. And I'm like, man, what a ripoff that is.
It's crazy. It really is. I did the opposite approach. What I did is showed up every day. I didn't cut, but I didn't do nothing. Like, I'd just be like, oh, this is hard, and I'd get help with my work and stuff. And then my wrestling coach, he had this degree that he got that he could teach any class. So we worked it out, like, by the end of my sophomore year, that I could be in his class for every period. So I was in his class. I was just like, I'd just be in my wrestling coach's class all day, and he would just give me C's, and I'd pass. And it was easy, man. But I didn't take any books home. I didn't work. I just was nice to all my teachers and kissed ass and shit.
I hated school.
Yeah.
Because I got picked on and stuff because I was just a quiet type, but not picked on like stuff I couldn't take. It's just like a gnat in your ear. Some of these children are annoying. Like they just wanted to be cool, so they figured picking on people. But they were the type that could dish out, but they couldn't take it when it would come back to them. Those type of people.
That's the majority.
And I don't know. School was just a waste of time to me. I didn't want to be there at a young age. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? You know, I would always be looking out the window like I should be out there running around. Like this shit is stupid.
It can't be for everybody. Everybody's so different, you know. How could just one thing of school, the same curriculum for every child? It's not a possibility, man. It's bullshit. It's a program.
They should have, in a real school classroom, they should take history out. The only true history that should be taught to you is your fucking family history. It's just as important as any of the other suckers they put in those textbooks. You and your family should mean more. No, why doesn't your family history matter? Why are they always giving you these, you know, people to worship? They should put law in the schools. They don't want to put law because they don't want us knowing anything. They want us to be dumb and just follow orders. All you need to know in life is to read, write, and math. A little bit of math. That's it. The rest is bullshit.
Like history, they teach you. They have a set of like a dozen things they teach you, made up stories, and that's it. And like that's history. That's all the history. It's fucking lame, dude.
Yeah.
We're I used to fall for a lot of stuff. Yeah, sitting for 8 hours exactly, dude. I mean, it's funny because my son was he was like me, he's real hyperactive and stuff. And so I go to the school, for one of the meetings, like first grade or whatever meeting, and the teacher goes, "Hey, so we got him in the back of the class." I put him in the back of the class, and he's at his table, and he can stand. Like your son does not want to sit in a chair. He's so hyperactive. So I just put his desk in the back, and he stands at his table and he writes and stuff. And they totally like, I thought that was so cool, man. When I was like, dude, he could do it, but it's like, he's like me, he's hyperactive. And so I was like, dude, I thought, that was neat, man. Stuff like that, where I'm like, that was cool. That's it.
Like, I just feel like I said in my rhyme, man, I feel like I have faith in myself. Why am I going to have faith in the God that never answered me when in need? You know, people say, oh, Jesus is selective. People believe, when I begged him to heal my mother, there was no answer.
Hey, Charles, when you're finished with that, I got a point to make and a question about what you're saying right now. But go ahead.
And I learned at that moment in my life, I used to do all these prayers, and I realized even getting a job, it was all me putting in the work. No, Jesus got me no job. I got it because I focused on it and put the work in to get it. And I started to realize at that moment, when the prayers weren't answered from my mother, that the Sky Daddy was bullshit. And you were the power, self. I started to realize that. And it sucks that it had to be that situation for me to see it. 23 years later, I'm still waiting for a reply. No answer. Crickets, nothing. There is no fucking sky god watching over and answering prayers. It's all on us to do everything. We are the God. Go ahead, Christos.
Yo, yeah, I was just gonna ask if you've ever listened to Tech 9. because he's Midwest. He's based out
Yeah.
of Kansas City, Missouri, and he has old music where he's touching on the same thing that you're speaking on, where his mother had health issues, and he has a couple songs speaking on it. I just didn't know if you knew the artist or if you
Old,
did, knew those
old
songs.
school, huh?
Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt. I found him back when I was in high school, and I'm fairly young. I just turned 26, but like, yeah, Tech Nine's cool. I appreciated that independent, like underground grind vibe. And even yeah, he was in the 90s. On that one hip hop radio show or whatever with Eminem when he was still Slim Shady, and like he's been in the game for a while, even
Oh,
though he's kind of
gotcha. I
more
didn't know.
popular now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like his unconventional style.
Yeah. You ever hear of Spice One from Oakland from the old days? Spice One.
I know the name, but
Yeah.
I'm not. No, I don't. I don't know them.
A little too hardcore for like, that was right when it was getting going, man. And like, yeah, a lot of guys like copied him. Like that was the dude that they came, to do hardcore gangster rap out of Oakland. They modeled themselves after that dude. And he's like, he'd bring his mom to shows and just bodyguards all around her and stuff.
Well, there's a
What's
there's
up,
a
Dominic?
couple of people that are pretty beloved by the hip hop community, and I say hip hop in quotes, right? Because there's a lot of
The RZA, Killer Priest,
controlled bullshit going on there. Yeah, and isn't that interesting, Charles? Because I know you like Wu-Tang, and I enjoy talking about Wu-Tang on here with you and others like Mental Ninja or whoever. But it's interesting how Killer Priest is where he is now. I know he's still connected with people like Raekwon and Ghostface to a certain degree, but like he's not having those people on his podcraft. There's some type of disconnect. He really did get blackballed from the industry, and that's why he's independent, but his music's better than ever. Whereas RZA making tea, doing movies, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, right? But like we see what's going on here of who went deeper into the system in the industry,
yeah,
and who kind of got out of it and stayed more authentic.
that's disappointing.
And that was Killer Priest.
You ever see that karate movie?
You're kind of like your voice is a little staticky, a little bit, Chris. You always tell me to let you know.
I'll be right back.
You ever see the karate movie that he did, Charles? I think was it
the RZA?
The RZA.
It was the RZA. It's called it's a cartoon.
No, it's a real movie. It's a live action
Afro
movie.
Samurai. Oh, no, Iron Fist.
That one's sick.
The man with the iron fist.
I think so. He's got the real pretty Asian girl in there and stuff. Well,
he did Ghost Dog, the RZA, Man with the Iron Fist.
So the guy that he fights in that Man with the Iron Fist is my guy I wrestled with, Kung Lee. I wrestled in college with him. Yeah, the dude that he fights, the Asian dude. Yeah, and he's in a couple movies like that. Yeah, but yeah, it's a trip, man.
Yeah, the RZA is in pictures with the one eye symbolism, and it's kind of disappointing, man, because he talked against. I'm not saying he's a part of it, but to get where he's at in Hollywood and be not producing but directing movies, you most likely have to be mingling with, and he talked against all that when they first came out. So I think either A, we don't know the truth about these people, and people are believing the spookism, because the RZA is a very intelligent man. I just can't see him selling out completely. But who knows?
Too. They're Prince
what's selling out? Yeah, but what's selling out?
Oh, I know what's shilling. What's, you know what I mean? At what point are you providing a good information and product for somebody? Are you interesting? Are you entertaining? Or you know what I mean? Because I mean, Mickey Mouse is entertaining. He's not real. You know what I mean? That's how you got to look at anybody. Anybody you ain't never gonna meet. Don't be mad at them. If they could be helpful towards you, take what they got. Like you said, just like reading all the different scriptures and stuff. take from it, you know.
Oh,
But I don't. There's so much esoteric writing and stuff involved in every, you know, rock and hip hop and stuff that it's abnormal that any people would be so educated in this as to be able to just meditate on it and put it into put all hermetic teachings into hip hop rhymes and stuff. That's such deep thought.
I'm starting to think it was like all spookism joking, you know, like I think a lot of the knowledge they put that type of aura around it so people don't look into it, because these people want everything for themselves. They don't want everyone, you know, moving up, and that means less for them, you know.
This is a constant showing us.
They probably reversed everything to where Satan's the true creator, and I'm not saying everything, but and Jesus in the Bible is worshiping the actual Satan. That would be the biggest trick to get people to do what, you know, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I know if I was Satan, that's what I would do to trick people easy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's the duality, you know. You got the whole, you know, on one end is you take it good and bad is just kind of stretched apart, you know. It's the same thing, you know. It's like, you know, it's just one end is good. You can't, nothing could exist without the other. So kind of a dual system seems kind of like, you know, something that would be, you know.
Peace, Dominic.
Got Felix the cat going.
Morning, Charles. Hey, guys. Hey, Joe. Hey, Christoph.
What up?
Hey.
What's up, Yeti Life? Shit, I be up early every day. I was up at 4 a.m. Like, let's get it.
I didn't want to be up. I want to be in bed.
Yeah.
But I gotta
There's a full moon this morning.
Dude,
nice
that thing is
moon.
so big, bro. God, I wish I wasn't working, bro. I could have got the sickest video. Oh, where I'm at, dude, in the Sierra Nevada mountains.
This is what I got.
Dude, it looked like it's rolling across the top of the Sierra Nevadas, bro. Like giant.
Yeah?
Like, oh my God. It looked like a portal just rolling. God, it was beautiful, man.
There's too many lights where I'm at, man. Too many lights to drown out. Pisses me off.
It sucks. That's bad, though, bro. I mean, come on. What are you? By the time it gets over by me, it's on top of the Sierra Nevadas, you know, it's like, that's crazy, man. What is it? It went like this and rolls across the firmament. It gets over to me. That's how I imagine it going.
I said, you're a real stepper, and I'm a landmine. I'll leave your legs dangling and call it hang time.
Because you're a real stepper, and I'm a landmine.
Because all the new generation be like, I'm a real stepper, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'm a landmine.
Yeah.
Step in this direction.
Christos knows how they taught how to be cool. He knows all the good. He knows all the cool lingo. He's still young.
I like how Charles put that. Yeah.
I like that. I approve.
Yeah. Getting some allegory or analogy, or not allegory. I mean analogy, metaphor action going.
And then keep that kind of like cadence of that lyric. You know, that's when it kind of flows. You know, and then you can switch it on the next one or whatever. But I like how it's like
I got my track done.
8s and 16s and 32s, huh? Like that's how music goes. Like you're like.
Yeah.
I just got a few things I want to touch up. I want to one thing that's cool is I could copy my verse and then cut out and just leave in the ad-libs. I don't have to actually manually do my ad-libs anymore, or ad-libs, whatever you want to call it. I could be lazy, right, and just copy the verse and then cut out Just put in the parts I want my voice to, you know. That's the thing about technology. It just makes the artist lazy when you should actually just do it yourself, because then it'll build up. It's like doing anything. You'll get better at it quicker. And yeah, cutting corners usually it pays off, but it don't, because it makes the person much lazier. You cut corners.
I bet.
Well, it's like a matter of, that brings to my mind, like, I feel like Be What It Is would probably be able to speak on something like this. What you're saying versus efficiency, right? So it's like making something more efficient is not like, in a sense, cutting corners, you know? So here we're kind of getting literal and metaphorical looking at this. You know, it's not to play around with the words necessarily too much, but yeah.
You got headphones on?
Yeah, I do. What's up? Is it bad audio again?
Yeah. It sounds like we can hear you. That's no problem. It's just like this, right, Joe King? Am I bugging or do you hear it?
No, I hear it. Yeah, a little staticky when you like
yeah,
when
a
you
little
talk.
static.
Yeah.
Talk again.
Mic check.
Oh, now it's good.
That's better. Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's that automatically adjust mic volume option thing. I don't know. It might be my phone. Anyway, my bad about that. But you know what I'm saying? It's like efficiency versus whatever you're just saying, cutting corners, bullshit, and, you know, screwing yourself over in the long run, not doing a job right.
Yeah, I feel like putting my new track on, but you know, for people who
you're not being lazy, bro.
Enjoy my my rhymes. I want to start writing songs. I'm pretty bad at hooks, but and another thing I don't like nowadays, music songs are only like 2 minutes and 40 seconds, right? Like I said before, I'm used to a song's 4 minutes, you know, some are 6 minutes, but it's the microwave mind state. People only can handle 2-minute songs. 40-second verse, if that. You got 40 seconds to make it matter, you know?
Interesting. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So you better come strong in 40 seconds.
Joe King, do you use supplements at all, or you know, do you take certain herbs or roots ever?
I got to. Well, you know what? Not really herbs and roots, but maybe as far as I just go with kind of a basic thing I got going every day. You know, a little bit of regimen that keeps me going. You know, it's not too complicated. Just your standard like C, D3. You know, I like selenium.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, stuff like that. You know,
I need splines, man.
Yeah, I like fulvic minerals.
I was just about to bring that up. You said fulvic minerals?
Yeah, fulvic minerals.
Yep.
What else? You know, once in a while, like every other day or something, take like a little iodine too, Lugol's iodine. Zinc bicolonate's the other one too that you know, seems to do stuff. I wish I could take more vitamin C. Like it makes me sick, man. I got to get the good stuff. The Clive DeCarl stuff, man, is the only stuff I could stomach, but I just keep spacing it, man. So I get a little bit in my water, but
Piece de Flora and stationary pizza.
Yeah, magnesium. Keep lifting weights, man. Lifting weights, I think, is muscle helps a lot, man. It burns.
Oh shit.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah,
I'm glad you
working out does help.
Every man should lift.
Yeah,
lift some weight. You don't gotta kill yourself.
Lucid, what's up, bro? Come up. My bad, Joe King.
Yeah, you got it, Joe.
Yeah, I got like 3. There's maybe like 6 different workouts you gotta do. You'll be fine. You know, and you'll get all the benefits from it. You know, I've been
You don't
lifting. My
even need
brother,
a
my
huge
brother was like the
regimen.
bench press champ in high school and shit. I've been lifting. I've had weights my whole life, and
Yeah, I started back in middle school. I know what you mean.
mm,
I've moved it more into calisthenics and trying to be more
mm,
holistic and getting back into stretching and whatnot. But I did do a lot of weight training over the years, like off and on, different gym memberships, or back when I was in school or college.
mm.
So I know what you mean for sure, Joe. And it's
Well, yeah,
funny
pull-ups are the
because
best. Pull-ups are the best
if you're
thing. Yeah.
Greens,
for
that
sure, dude.
chlorophyll, bro. Something about chlorophyll in the plants that like even when you have like I've noticed if I have joint pain or back pain, eating a lot of green solves that for some reason. I don't know what it is, man.
Have you ever seen that
Greens.
Chlorofresh stuff? It tastes kind of sweet. It's it's in a little bottle. It's green. It's chlorophyll, but it's kind of like sweet, and it's good for your breath and stuff. You just take a little shot of it, and you feel good. That stuff's good.
Squats. People say squats are for females. When I went to prison, I did so many squats one day I
Yeah,
couldn't even jump up to my bunk, and I couldn't walk right. And
that's one of them, man.
after a
Stiff
while,
like yeah.
it pays off. Like after doing squats, I was up to 300 a day. Fucking, your legs are strong to where you gotta have strong legs to hold up the upper body. If you don't have strong foundation, bro, your building will crumble, right?
The
So
older
legs
I
are an
get, the less
important
squats I
workout.
do. I skip leg. I'm always
No
skipping leg
doubt.
day now. I'm 50, man. I'm like, let's do some curls.
You need to have strong foundation. The legs.
Yeah, that's where the mountain biking. I should do more squats, but I do the more
Dude, bikes
stiff-legged.
will make your legs. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I
When
do
I
a
was younger,
stiff-legged
I had
deadlift.
ripped legs. Riding bikes all day, every day.
Yeah,
Your stamina would be up. You'll be able to last longer than anything. That stamina. Bike riding is the best.
yeah, and then you do your deadlifts, like your stiff-legged ones with light weights. Keep your legs kind of straight and do those ones, and get your whole lower back up from your butt, your hammies, all the way up your butt and to your lower back. That whole section is from those deadlifts. You come up and,
Maggot said, "Stop the excuses, Joe. I'm 54 and I still train." No,
I'm
I'm
telling
joking.
you.
He didn't
Oh,
say that.
hey,
He
there
said,
you
"I'm
go. Are you
54 and still train."
this guy? See,
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
I'm a wrestler. Like my buddy just won like the nationals. He's been doing it for like 2 years that I wrestled with in college. Jerry Rodriguez. He won the thing in Vegas and stuff. He's my best buddy, and he keeps telling me to do jujitsu. And I know if I do it, I'll be hooked on it. So I don't have enough time. I know because he said it's just absolutely the most addictive thing. He said he's like 2 years away from his black belt and stuff. And he's like teaching. But see, what we got is this, like my buddy teaches takedowns at the jiu-jitsu class. Because like on our feet, wrestlers are way better. You got to admit that, Maggot.
Yeah, that's dope. I forgot you did some wrestling with Mizzou.
Oh,
Yeah.
who wants to hear my new track? No,
Do
I don't
it,
want
bro. Do it. Play it. I'm muting up right now.
I will. I have to upload it and stuff, but it's not finished. Maybe I should just wait till it's done. I mean, it ain't nothing special to me. I don't think it's my utmost super best verse ever. I think them other tracks I did were better. Because like I said, I let my ignorance reign. It's talking about drugs and fucking you name it.
Dude, you sound like on Step Brothers when he's like, oh, my voice was bad and I did. No,
You got to be your own worst critic, man,
you
because
have the voice of an angel, Charles.
if someone said, "Chuck, your shit's trash," it won't bother me. I want people to be honest. It don't hurt me at all. It just makes me like, okay, I got to tighten that up. I like people to be straight honest. I'm not one of them people who'll be like, when you're eating food, tell me how it is. It's fucking trash. And then they'll be like, oh man, why you couldn't just say it was all right? Like you asked me, you wanted the truth. So I said it was trash. Now you're mad at me. You can't cook. Stop.
That's a tough conversation. Bad food.
That's another thing.
Oh man,
All the women but one I was ever with could cook. I was very good at somehow being with a woman that could not cook for shit. They were good women, and I've always wanted a woman that can cook. It's, you know, Mexican food, Italian food. Nowadays, it's probably super hard to find a woman that can cook. The way the internet are molding today's women. They don't care if you're old and decrepit. As long as you give them a bag, they'll be licking on those wrinkles. Peace to Boston, Ray, Mud Flood Adventures.
You could have made a good joke there, Charles. I hope you realize that.
What?
If you weren't already making a joke there with that bag reference. Were you just talking about chicks having sugar daddies or some nonsense? Or
I said a chick. Okay. A chick would. I didn't want to say suck off an old man with his wrinkled.
Yeah.
But she would for a bag. She would be with a man just because he's got money. She don't care how she's treated or what he looks like. It's all about money nowadays. It's sad.
Well, you already know what you should have done right there with that bag reference. That's all I'm saying. You even talked about wrinkles, man. Come on. Dropping the bag to suck his. All right, you know, I'm in a public place. I don't need to say the joke. You got it.
I bet Dominic's got a bunch of raps written down. He's got like a whole book, dude, of rhymes. He's keeping to himself.
I'm selfish that way, Joe.
What's that?
I'm selfish that way.
Got the studio sunglasses on.
Killer Priest comes to my house and we play.
And hangs. Can I come over, please, bro?
Okay, but make sure Puff doesn't know he's coming over, that you're coming over.
I was just saying ignorant shit like arm to the leg, arm to the head. XM7 equipped with the infrared. You would be executed on sight, Judge Dredd. Master marksman staring down the scope. Locked in my crosshairs, the sounds being cloaked. Nike Air cement shoes thrown over the boat or fed to the gators in the swamp or the moat. I don't know. I was being ignorant with some violence. I try not to go down that route, but people love it. So, got to give them a little taste of their medicine, take the edge off. They need that fix, or they'll be shaking. It's too much knowledge for them. They'll start that withdrawals.
That's the programming, man. The violent programming served that for us when we were young men. My first thing I ever remember is watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's my first memory.
The way people rap, all music's rapping. I don't care what it is. When the lyrics are being said, it's a poem. What people don't get is the actual music, right? The music is what's different. And I get it. People say hip hop, that ain't real music. Well, you can take a hip hop, all them samples, and it's still music because the RZA, they just went on a tour, Wu-Tang. But the difference was they're gonna do it now in Las Vegas. Wu-Tang is in Las Vegas like Cher was. So now the whole Wu has a contract with Las Vegas to do a show there. And the difference is the RZA is going to conduct with an orchestra to play the Wu beats with an orchestra. So in order for you to, you have to write music for that to work. And when I heard it, they're playing the exact same as the beat, just with instruments. So these beats were written like music. It has to be. It's music.
Ray's got a couple classic songs. Everything's a Lie, Boston Ray in the chat, and then and The Earth is Flat. What you gonna do about that? Classics from Boston Ray.
What, he got songs for real?
Yeah, he does. Mm-hmm.
Did I sub to Boston Ray? I think so. Hold on, let me check.
It's flat. What you gonna do about that?
Day. And I try to get people, like, I know Sir Drop, I sent him a beat, but I don't think it got to him. I think I screwed something up. I gotta call him.
Yeah, Sir Drop's cool, man. Like that guy.
Frenchie Kush said, "Oh yeah, I'm down." He disappeared. I don't know. Shout out to him. He's probably busy. I don't know. I'm not hating on the dude. He's a good lyricist. I like his music. He has a lot of mixtapes. Frenchie Kush. Damn, I gotta find his link. People should hear his music. And I like ODD. Like people that aren't super famous with a record label like ODD TV.
Yeah,
his truth music is good. Peace, Ladder of Nation.
People have been saying all kind of bad, people just getting the big fights about stuff and like, I don't know, saying bad stuff about him too. But it's like, dude, he's got some cool stuff. And so have you seen his like Stephen King breakdowns and stuff?
Yeah.
ODD, those are good.
His
ones.
movie breakdowns are really good too.
Yeah.
That's where I got the movie 9, believe it or not.
Gotcha. Yeah. I like ODD.
ODD TV did a thing on the movie 9, and I said, man, I gotta watch that. And
I think he did.
Truthfully, it's one of my top 10 movies, 9 of all time. I like the concept. I like the plot. It reminds me of a creation story. The way he took 9 is master number. It's the last number, and there's 9 little characters that were each a piece of his soul, and the 9th one was the last little bit of his soul, and the dude died. And I watched the movie backstage with Dean one day. He's the only one who showed up, and he loved the movie. He's like, man, I should have watched this sooner.
I should have watched it.
All right, let me see. Boston baked beans. Who remembers those, man?
Oh yeah, little piece of fat in it.
I hate hearing my own voice. There's a delay. All right. Yeah, I am subscribed to Boston Ray.
Boston Ray's Mud Flood Adventure.
And I got the bell on.
Yep, they play games, man. They really do. I don't get any good notifications.
Yo, they won't let me. You know what's odd? They won't let me for some reason. I don't know how long it's been. I can't do my second channel, so that might be a complete goner.
I can't get in. I have another one too. I can't get into.
It won't let me do it through StreamYard. They're saying I have to. So I should have never fucking said nothing over YouTube, and I think somehow that played a part into what's going on with that. But it's all good. That could disappear. It don't hurt me. I'll start a third one again. It's all good, man. It's all good.
All right, man. Hey, I'm gonna be listening. Play your song, but I'm gonna get out of here and get my day going. Wanted to say what's up. I haven't checked in for a while. Been working too much, but I'm lurking and working all the time, buddy. All right, Dominic.
All right, Joe King. Peace, bro. Yeah. Have a good day.
All right, Ray, Maggot, everybody in chat.
It's only 6 a.m. for you.
It's 6 o'clock, man. So I'm gonna get the breakfast going. get the guy. I got 2 grandbabies now. I got a
Nice.
we got a brand new one in the house too. So I'm a double grandpa now. So it's all good, man. But a lot going on. So
All right.
all
Peace,
right,
Joe.
have a great day. I'll be listening. Okay.
All right, man.
Bye.
Where did I leave off? What's up, Dominic?
Sharing you guys share with each other, Charles?
Shit, my phone's at 30%. No. Hey, I seen this video, Dom, today. It was crazy. I never seen nothing like it. I would never suspect, you know, a sergeant would do this to the chief. I was watching Lackluster this morning on my way back home, and the chief was drunk, number one. Why would he go to a accident scene drunk? This is the chief now. And he tried to grab the sergeant, and the sergeant picked him up, boofed him on the car that crashed. And the chief told him he's suspended. He was clearly drunk, the chief.
Who captured it? Was it an onlooker, or was it actually videotaped by the police themselves?
It was the camera of the police officer. Yep.
Mm.
And that's odd, because they usually back each other. And I was thinking, maybe they want to get rid of that guy.
Could be. It could be. Well, it's been spread in a lot of parts that a lot of police officers might be functional drunks. Maybe the job's probably pretty tough. They do shit they probably don't want to do, but and then they get shit on. But again, that's an interpretation. Yeah, I'd question why they would allow that to be mainstream, or at least be caught, or because you got to remember the police have a lot of say. You know, when there's a crime being committed or there's a site, they usually bring a PR police officer there. It's not just a regular police officer more times than not. Same with firemen and all that. They have people that are paid to be, PR firemen.
Yeah, there's still good officers out there, but there's more knuckleheads and ignorant ones.
You can say that
because they're being wrongly trained. That's the problem.
Or correctly trained for that purpose. It's like military people. I'm pretty sure other countries aren't really enjoying when a foreign nation comes into them. You know, hey, we're nice military people as we're in your country. How far do you think that'll go?
I don't know.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't, especially if you have gangs in those other countries. Now they have to be concerned about what, military there. Like I said, the police get a lot of shit on because a lot of times the citizens of, doesn't matter what country it is, they don't understand the rules. And if they're taught at a young age, whether it's from their parents or the community, because obviously the schooling system doesn't teach that. The schooling system is there to teach you to be the next better, industrial worker. It's like you enjoy rap. Did they teach you in school how to rap? Probably not.
No.
Did they teach you how to sign a contract? Probably not.
Yep.
Did they teach you how to make an instrument or how to skip a record or?
They teach you how to sign a contract. Maybe
so?
Like when you go to a job, you fill it out this, and this, and you just sign it. They don't teach you to read the fucking thing, but.
Or they're asking you to react, just sign it without, looking at it. Okay, well, makes sense. And if that doesn't work,
I did that once, or more than once, until it bit me in the ass, and I realized stop being lazy and read the contracts.
Yeah, very much so.
before you
Yeah.
sign them.
People understand what a soul contract is and what you're signing over. It's not just your soul. You're signing every information or anything that you gather while you're here, whether it's your lyrics, whether it's your image. Because you got to remember, the people that run those industries from top to bottom, they own it. So if somebody turned around and say, "Oh, I'm an independent," I said, "But you're still buying from them their instruments, right? And if you're going to be on tour or you want some fiat currency, guess whose game you still got to play their game, whoever they are to them." Now, it could be what some people might call generational wealthy families, but more times than not, it's usually they pay people to print money, have military, and then we actually fill in those positions. I'm not saying I do, but a lot of people do, unaware. How would you have known of Jay-Z, for example? How would you have known them? They promote it through their media, their papers, they're online. And what we do is we reinforce it by talking about it, which is fine. There's nothing inherently bad or good in it. It's just awareness. It's when a person thinks it's bad or good. Now they're slanted themselves. It's like a person that votes. Once you vote, you've picked a side. And now you're going to defend it or attack other people that picks a side. Dare not be the person that doesn't participate in those particular systems. Now you can actually see it for what it is. You know, you were saying earlier about the duration of a rhyme. Why only 2 minutes? Why that type of goldfish syndrome or mentality? You know, poetry usually is about, you know, things that are injustly done to humanity or whatever. But unfortunately, it's not about injustice where court systems, even you had to go through it. It's about commerce. You're a number at that point, Charles, when you were in jail. You're just a number.
Yep.
You know, so they didn't see you for who you are.
They didn't ask your name. They would say inmate number.
Yep.
Say it. They didn't care about your name. Oh, they did. You would say your inmate number, and they would say last name, and that's it. Just a second verify. But yeah, always your number. They didn't care about your name.
Mm-hmm. And the people that are guarding over you, their number, whether they know it or not. That's why we have like a SIN number.
Yeah, when you get your check, there's a number on it, and that's all you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's that check, that number on there. You're that payee. And they write you off taxes.
Police officers are no different. They're numbers, whether they want to admit it or not. It's just a matter of what position you're going to be. Am I going to be a master or a slave? But both of them are actually puppets in the game. It's not like as though the people that are ruling behind the hidden hand are the ones that are actually the masters. No, they just convince a whole bunch of people. You batch that just got born, you're going to be masters. You batch over there, you're going to be indifferents. You batch over there, you're going to be slaves. And then they're going to let them fight each other or fight among themselves. And that's the distraction. They're not ever look hard enough and say, okay, let me understand this. In America, I'm choosing America, or, you know, we'll just say even Europe included, they're promoting rap, like they used to promote disco, new wave. Other countries promoting Asian music. And then you put a little dialect in it or a little bit of an accent. It's a different type of music. You know, the Chinese and the Asian and the Indian market when it comes to music is probably way bigger than America. It's just America's currency is stronger, or so they say. You know, Charles, we're talking about a bunch of human race that one part of the world you drive on one side of the road and the other part you drive on the other side. That's all. That's all orchestrated. There's so many agendas here that we don't even realize as we're speaking, that's an agenda. But hey,
it's true.
It is. It is what it is. I know some people, it's a tough thing because they want to pick a side. I'm against the system. Okay, against it, with it. Most people that are with the system probably doesn't understand how the system works. They're getting their little slice, whether it's money, fame. Like if all of a sudden you start making it big, how many hoops do you think you're going to have to jump through?
It opens a lot of doors.
You're gonna wish that you're gonna wish that
it opens doors and it also it'll open doors and close. Yeah, you still have to jump through hoops.
Oh sure. And if you ever want, go ahead.
More taxes. You know, more people that want to leech to you to get something out of you too.
Well, you're paying taxes at that point. That means you have fiat currency. You've already jumped through some hoops. So now this is why when they say, you know, how rich do you really want to be? How famous do you want to be? No problem. Here, come over here. Take a picture with this child here.
So
come a little bit towards it. Go ahead.
Because you said fiat currency, like, don't most of the rich people in this world, they deal with like land, and they have what is it called? They buy stuff that can, like the rich people, they're not dealing with cash. They're dealing with I forgot what someone had said. They're dealing with like houses and boats and shit that you invest your money into, where you can get money, or I forgot what it's called, man. Not trading.
Barter?
Instead of cash. No, either way. Rich people don't deal with, you know, they don't have $1 billion in cash. Yeah, investments.
Yeah, there's rich people, then there's wealthy people. Rich people usually more times than not do not, they still play around with money, but they just don't ever pull it out of the bank. So it's like me having gold. I haven't, if I have lots of gold, I'll never use it. It's just there to show other people that I'm well off and I'm good for it. It's like most, like again, rich people, a little bit different. Wealthy people, they barter. So they set up all the organizations throughout the world, like a NAFTA or the Asian market. So again, the only people that play with cash is the citizens. And that's why you pay taxes, because you're using fiat currency. You can't pay taxes if you're playing with something else. And that would be changed over to tribute. So the nobles back in the days, even today, they'll do tribute. I'll give you a whole bunch of my citizens, or it's not even citizens per se at that point, my cattles, and then you have a whole bunch of land from the wealthy, and you get to sign leases. So again, IOU initially was structured for the nobles so that they didn't have to carry around all the goats and chickens and all that kind of stuff. It's the citizens that work for money when you shouldn't be working for money. You should be using your energy to obtain it so you can buy your necessities, or maybe even some of your wants, like some nice spokes, rims or something that the elites pay somebody to make.
I want land. Now that I know what I know, I would have bought land a long time ago. I'm fucking just ignorant.
Unfortunately, Charles, those wars have been fought way before your ancestors were even alive. So what you would be buying is a deed. So for you to actually have land now, you would probably have to be a high club member. So
I just want land, so it could, like you said, it'll be on paper. It's mine until someone could either come take it from me, you know, they'd have to kill me. But other than that,
okay, but you're signing the paper. At that point, you're renting it, and like I said, you would need military to protect it. So again, whoever created the system understood. You print enough money, and you have a big enough military, you can use any ism. And as long as the citizens think capitalism is the one that works, they've already got you brainwashed. So for you, you could probably lease a piece of land from me, for example. And you say, yeah, no problem, Charles. When we go to war, you come to fight with me. Why? Because I'm giving you a piece of land to work off of. So you'll enjoy your life. But the first time that you think that you own the land, I said, even the elites understand they don't own the land. This is why they understand demigods. We have landlords. We have rulers here, not owners. But it would be nice, because I get the impression from you, Charles, you know, you might want to go back to nature. You want to grow your crops, or maybe farm your animals, maybe even do some hunting if you have some sort of land that, you know, there is deer and all that kind of stuff. And then people can learn things about how the sun and the moon works, and how to kill an animal with an honorable kill so it won't affect, you know, the meat, let alone the blood that's in it. There's a lot to be learned, you know, but unfortunately.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I just learned that a while ago, that when you kill an animal, it has to be certain ways you do stuff. Like, you don't shoot it where its intestines is, because you don't want that to leak all over the meat. And it's a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just shoot an animal. Well, you could. Maybe you'll get lucky. Like, you know, if you shoot it in the head,
That's an honorable kill, because traumatizing an animal, let alone a human, you're doing something totally different to the blood. And when that blood actually starts rushing through the body, then you're going to start eating that kind of stuff. And again, you make sure you kill the male species, because you want the female species to keep reproducing. So there's a lot of etiquette behind hunting. The elites, whoever they may be, probably understand that. Same with growing crops, and understanding, what purposes the moon serve, or all the other luminaries. They might even still be under a different calendar, not the Georgian calendar. It might be a different calendar that they work by. It's the same 364 days, but based on a different calendar. So we might be playing with 12 months. They're playing with 13 months. We're playing with 7-day week. They're playing with a 10-day week. Again, that's all in an interpretation. So. A lot to be learned, Charles, if people want to learn, but most people have been programmed. So in the program, if they start sharing that, then most people will, regurgitate that. Like even rap, if people understand why do they present rap at a certain age and all that kind of, opposed to, Grandmaster Flash and the gang or whatever. Most of them are reading a script of some sort, or some people will do jingles. You can get into the industry of just making jingles for commercials.
Yeah. What was that? The thing is, don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
Yep.
Forgot that group, but I think that was Grandmaster Flash. But he was stepping on glass in the alley and shit in New York. That was showing people what the trenches look like.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, nobody should live like that in this world. There's enough land and everything for everyone. This system, it has poison. Just, I sit back and think like how we got to this where we're at now. Then I think, whoa, how long has the system been doing this?
It
could be from day one. Who knows? Day one of the system. I mean, obviously.
Okay, so let's play it from this point. Let's say me and you're going to ride our fairy tale little broomstick and say, okay, the system is bad. We start presenting it to people. Who do you think you would get more pushback from? The elites, the ones that are trying to help them, or the masses?
Probably the people.
It would be the masses. The masses are so engraved in their comforts.
That's what I meant, the masses.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it would be the masses, because the ones that are running the show, they're small. The ones that are trying to help other people somewhat be aware, it doesn't mean we're asking you guys to change, are small in numbers. It's the masses when they realize, oh, but I would have to give up a lot of my comforts. Sure, you would. You just can't say, listen, I need a turkey for Thanksgiving, even though that's maybe a controlled holiday. How many people would actually say, I'm going to raise a turkey? Oh, wait a second, I'm going to go to my neighbor's farm. I'm going to get a turkey. I'm going to twist its neck and then start killing it. No, most people wouldn't. They want that, plug and play ideal. I'll go to the grocery store. It's already going to be prepared. And then when people start complaining about even the comforts that are brought to them, the masses, in this case, or the elites, already understand they're still asleep. They're too busy complaining and not realizing how much they're in their own shit. Now, if we start becoming aware at a bigger number, then we go underground. That's why they did the Malcolm X thing and all that. That was orchestrated. They wanted to bring everybody underground, overground. So now they knew where all the Black Panthers were, where the 5%ers were. Fucking 5%. That's fucking what? Above 1% milk? It's expiry date on those guys.
Yeah, the 5%ers, the Nation of Islam, them.
Yeah, most of them, believe it or not, whether they're aware of it or not, when you go deep enough into those things, you realize they're joined to clubs. Same with religion.
Yeah, it's a lodge.
Well,
it's a lodge. Yeah, and I never knew that till about 10 years ago. Or not, about 2009, I learned that the Nation of Islam is a Masonic lodge. And they blame the white man.
That's orchestrated too.
It's part of their division. Yeah, it's all orchestrated to. It's their. It's what I always talk about, man. And it's the same with the white people. They have their stuff they say about so-called black people and their lodge, and it's all to keep us it's divided and fighting each other with their ideologies.
Mm-hmm. Charles, I'll give you an example. This is another orchestrated thing that whoever they are, they pay people to create this. Have you ever seen a human being that's in the form of a black or white?
No.
But we say those terms, they're laughing still. Because you're darker, you're light skinned. So for example, I'm a European, so I'm more oilier skin. That's the form that I'm in. If I'm with an albino, I'm dark skinned. If I'm with a Nigerian, I'm light skinned. So it's even that when people use this parroting, oh, but you're black, you're white, I'm light. So how do you distinguish the difference between a black phone then or a white cover? And this is the game. They know how to play with language, and most of us are parroting. It's like if I ask somebody, okay, here's a simple one for me anyway, and it'll tell me a lot about them. How old are you? If they describe the age of their body, I'm 50 years old or I'm 30 years old. I said, you don't realize you're not the body, do you? You just classified your vessel. That's not who you are. Because if you're the body, then the question is, who runs it when you go to sleep? Who's running it right now? Who's running the liquids in that body right now? These are suits. And in these suits, we get to experiment with them. Because now we could talk about emotions and the mental part. When people do lyrics, is it your body speaking or are you speaking through the body? If people want to understand what spirit is. The evil part is just the material part. Now, I just said that stuff. I say it to the few. The many are just going to hear that. They're either going to get pushed back because they don't understand what a daemon or demon is. They play with behaviors and personalities. I'm an electrician. That's a personality. That's not who I am. I'm a man. That's a personality. That's not who I am.
Right.
But again, it's the game that we play. Like when you're in jail, I can use that as an example, Charles, because people have understood this for themselves, and you realize, oh, they can't imprison me. Why? Because I'm already in a suit. How can they imprison you when you realize?
They can't imprison me because I'm already in the suit. Yeah, a bodysuit, right? That's what you mean?
Yeah, like we're always living within this. Now, some people could do astral travel, but most people forget when you go in a car, you're already going inside of something. You're already in something. It's kind of like the Russian doll. I go into the shower. No, I'm already in something that's going to go into the shower. But again, that takes some sort of awareness and realize, holy fuck, I see all the indoctrination. And then you start seeing everybody else complaining about other people. Holy fuck, they're not even aware that they're talking about this shit. And then they start making it about me. I'm like, self-absorbed people should never make it about me because they don't realize how engraved they are with the self. And when I say the self, I'm talking about the lower program. Not the knower, but the self. The one that we learn when I break my silence and I talk. You know, and why did I only learn English? You know, but I also learned other languages, numbers, colors. I could learn American Sign Language, body language. Thought is its own language. You know, when I speak, you might receive something. That's called thoughts. Consciousness more, that's probably the better word. But again, that's the waking state. What about the sleepy state? The one that can take in way more information. The one that's always there. Like, you know, I can give an example, Charles. You've heard stories about people going to coma. Who runs the body? No different when a person drinks so much they black out, but yet they're still functioning. And police officers have reported the person had a lot of strength. When people smoke hemp, who's it for? For the body? Or is it for what we call the mind or the brain? These are things that I'm hoping that other people ponder. Not to say that there's an answer to those things. Unfortunately, a lot of people set off on their journey with this. There has to be an answer. Well, then you're not going to be flexible enough. That's like voting for somebody and hoping for a different party to win or a different outcome. Then you're playing a game with oneself. But hey, people want to have animosity towards a system without understanding how the system works. Because most of the police officers, I'm just using as an example, Charles, they're us. They're one of our own citizens, whether or not people want to be classified as citizens, but that's what they use. When people hear your president, in this case, I don't care who's president or prime minister or chancellor, they're reading from a script and they say, we're here to represent the people. They're not talking about us. When you hear a lot of rappers singing, they're reading from a script. If they really want to make it big, they're having to prove to the people that are in the system, you're well behaved. And if we want you to be very disruptive, it's because we tell you to be disruptive.
That's true.
Again,
They're conveyor belt. I call them conveyor belt MCs.
great
They were
term, by the way.
manufactured.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, no different if you want to get into the book industry. You know, they have a true and tried system, and they already have their audience that they've conditioned. Why would they change it? Amazon's not about selling items; they're about programs. They understand the pattern of us. We do the same thing when we're on YouTube. A lot of the stuff that we're talking publicly on YouTube will be used against us in the credit system. And it can come into a simple form. You have a digital currency, and me and Charles say, listen, Charles, I'm going to go to the grocery store. Let's go buy something. And then all of a sudden you find out, well, Dom, my credit system says I can't buy nothing for a week. It might have been something you said on YouTube.
That's crazy, man. So I'm trying to warn people, but they don't want to hear it.
Oh, they're on their own at that point, Charles.
They want their digital chips in their hand and all that.
We've been doing it.
I can open my door with my wrist. Or I can pay for my food, shop and go. Like, you can't take 2 more seconds to pull the card or money out of your wallet.
But even that, Charles, we're using fiat currency. That was
I know.
The industrial system. Now they're able to say, listen.
But it's the point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, that's what I'm trying to make the point. That, you know, they sell you. I just played that video earlier of the mascot. I call her the mascot of the slaves, the ultimate slave system. Mm-hmm. When she says, oh, you can do this faster, and you can lock your door, and all this other shit. And it to me, it just makes the person even lazier. And that's what they're selling you, a package. That's all they're doing. They don't tell you nothing bad about it. It might hurt, you know, mess your health up.
So Charles, when they used to have the concept of mastery and slavery, even though we still have it, how do you convince a whole bunch of people to work for a piece of paper and move a rock? That's conditioning too. It's just a different type of program we have running now. So people don't understand. Would they actually work for an industry? Would a person actually throw a football to another human being and they're going to get tackled and almost hurt themselves? Or people that are in the weight bodybuilding industry taking steroids and they die at a very young age, because you give them the concept of reprinted money, they'll do it. And then we have to buy their stuff. So what's the difference between working with fiat currency or a digital system? It's the same thing. The only thing is one is more controllable than the other. Mastery and slavery.
That's the point I was trying to make. You know, like, it's the ultimate slave system. People don't see it now. To me, it's the same thing as a credit card. The same fucking thing, but it's a chip in your wrist. Credit cards, they could turn your money off too, and they do to this day. It's the same thing they'll do with the chip, but worse. You know, it's worse.
If people can take away the word slave, let alone master, and then look at the thing called the system. It's like, if Charles, I'll give you an example. If me and you were born into wealth, it would be business as usual, because we would be conditioned and we wouldn't understand the poor. No different, the poor don't understand the rich. It all depends on what position you are. And because we've introduced as a race, the media or TV or radio, people start seeing things in past they would never been able to see those stuff. Most people would be very fortunate to walk within a day, walk away from their own community. So they've broken down the community and the family, because most people don't realize the family wanted their convenience. They want their comforts. So they actually are the ones that broke down the system. It wasn't the few that are being rewarded for it. And I'm talking about, when you look at the pyramid, you're looking at the middle runs. We're talking about people that are trillionaires. And then right above them are people that own wealth. There's things above them. But the masses aren't taking accountability for themselves in the system. Opposed to saying, well, it's a corrupt system. It's just a system I can't do nothing about it. No, just see the system for what it is. Who rules nature? and who rules humanity. You know, I love it when people want to talk about God. I said, okay, so let's entertain this ideal of God. So do you think they should interfere for humanity's sake, or for the animals, or for the plant kingdom? Are we that destructive yet? I don't think we are, because whoever's ruling this understands that. But unfortunately for a lot of people, because they've been watching, oh, hey, I looked at one of the rappers, they have all this bling bling. What I'm seeing is they're buying a whole bunch of shit that other people make. So they sold that a long time ago. I don't give a shit.
Slave chains. That's their bling bling.
It could be, but it could be a Ferrari. It could be a Rolls Royce. They can have a Rolex. I said, that's technology that most of you guys wouldn't even know how to fucking make. Same with all the instruments that most musicians have. Would they be able to make that instrument from scratch? Would they understand how to make Wi-Fi, let alone electricity? People forget the human race is like are animals. Nothing, no offense, but they're animals. Something else came along and introduced different types of technology, and we're enjoying it. That's the sad part about it. It'd be different if we say, okay, we don't enjoy it. So what do you mean? I don't even know what that is. I want nothing to do with it. How many people could really truly live off the grid, and even that's their term, and be without a car, without
Me?
satellite? Maybe you'd be the few. You'd be the few. What would you?
It would probably break me the first week. I ain't gonna front, because I've done it. The first week, I'll be bothered. It's like quitting any addiction, man. Cigarettes, you'll have the same withdrawals. You'll be wanting your phone. Let's just say the grid went down. You ain't gonna have a phone. You know, maybe you could use your phone to play music, but that's about it. And you will withdraw. You have to find other things to do to occupy you, and that'll be the best, is getting back to Mother Earth. Get out of this fake reality they are creating.
Again, maybe you spending time, unfortunately, in jail has helped you be aware of that. It's kind of like when people that are born in poverty, they're actually well suited if the economy collapsed. Now, there's a difference between being poor and being indebted. Being poor is a different game. Being indebted, you're somebody else's bitch, whether they know it or not. You know, but again, we're in one of those situations. You know, you're from America. There's no offense to America, because that's just the empire. They say, well, we have all these guns. I said, okay, let me understand this. Have you ever fasted for 2 or 3 weeks? Well, no. I said, once they start,
not that far.
Well, hear me out for a second. Once they stop rolling all those 18-wheelers to all the major cities with all those foods. And now all of a sudden the citizens like, well, we have no more foods because we just buy food just in time from these grocery stores. You'll see how quickly drones would fly over top of them and say, listen, you bring your guns and your foreign bullets to the FEMA camps. We'll feed you. Bingo. America's already done it that point.
Yeah.
And they would do it to a certain point. The reason why they'd only do a certain point is because they wouldn't want the citizens to be among when there's gangs starting to come out. So once those
people were smart, you would just fish. I'm just saying. I mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you could. But once again, how many of us are used to not having electricity, having heat, having Wi-Fi? Some because I can go without Wi-Fi. But once again, the comforts that we have, that's what we're really caught up in, and our attachments to our comforts and our desires.
I agree. 100%. And that's what is a major, you know, that's what's stopping people from putting their foot down. They're just too comfortable with everything, and they rather, as long as it don't affect them right away, they'll turn their cheek. They don't want it to disturb their waters.
Charles, I've grown up in privilege. And when I say privilege, happen to be a certain type of skin in a certain part of Canada. If I grew up in another part of Canada, that'll be a different game if I grew up as an Eskimo. But once again, people don't realize most of us are in comforts. It's just a degree, if you want to use the word degree, of what your comfort is. A guy wants to buy a bike. He said, I can't afford it, but at least you know there's a bike there, right? You can steal your comforts. You know, but it'd be different if you lived in a country where you don't know where your next meal is coming from. That's a different game, and we have a lot of poverty. This is why when I hear people talk about shit like, you know, flat earth, fucking globalists, whether or not we went to the moon or not, they're too busy trying to pick a side. I said, but how does that help the rest of humanity when we still have poverty? We have children that are being neglected. We have women that are not being treated equal. We have men that are fighting each other still. How does that serve humanity? It doesn't. So we're doing the same noise over and over again. But yet, oh, but I want to help humanity. No, you fucking want to help the me, being self-served. No, people don't have room for fucking God in their life if they're too busy serving themselves. They don't even have room to follow Satan. If there is such thing as Satan, all that. But I'm going to acknowledge the fact that there is nature and something did that, and that's not the human race. But also there's something else we've created, which is human, man-made stuff. And that's totally different than nature. You know, and people don't want to have, Charles, unfortunately, sadly, I've been around a lot of communities. They don't want to have that revolution from within. They want to bitch and complain about other people. But yet, if you've never left the vessel, then how can you bitch and complain about somebody else when you're supposed to be accountable for your own kingdom? And how many of us can truly say that we're sovereign beings? We're not. So bitching and complaining about the government tells us, I'm just going to bitch and complain about living under my parents' fucking roof. That's exactly what's going on with most people. Whether they're aware of it or not.
They need a rude awakening. They need to fall flat on their face.
Yeah, and then you have to live among everybody else then, Charles. So me and you become the only ones somewhat aware among our communities, and then we're going to be like the unicorn. And then what happens with a guy like Jesus? That's the witness of how the system works. They either put you on a pedestal one moment, by midday they're putting you on a fucking cross.
True.
That's what they do.
By midday, damn.
Yeah, and I'm pushing it by midday. You know, you can say a couple of little gems and people say, oh, that's neat. But once you start breaking it down to them, people start fucking getting pissed because they don't want to hear that shit. They want to live in their enchantment. They're not somebody become disenchanted and realize, holy fuck, this is not about the color of my skin. This is not about my gender. No, that's just the fucking mortal form. That's going to expire whether you like it or not. Me and you could both jump into a van. Next thing you know, we get killed. Fuck. And do we die? That's the question. Do we actually die? Because they use terms like life and afterlife. So what happens? Do we get rebooted? Now, some people might not value that. Okay, so let me understand that. So in one lifetime, I can become a trillionaire? How the fuck does that work? Unless I'm in clubs. And most of those people in the clubs are unaware who they work for. Let's not think just because Madonna is showing some sort of sign on the Super Bowl, she might be a fucking low 7-degree fucking Mason. Who fucking gives a shit? Or Rihanna or Jay-Z and their clan. They're fucking insignificant in the system. So true, Christoph. So true, but it's okay. I always have a win-win with me, Christoph. I can always go back into silence.
No, I like listening.
Yeah, but it's tough on me, Charles. It's tough on me, Charles.
The stuff you talk about, it's worth listening. Like, you know.
Yeah, but Charles,
that's another problem I had in school, was listening to the nonsense they would teach. I'm like, it's not even worth listening. Like, wow, wow, wow. That's all I heard.
We do hear other people. It's when you turn that listening inwards and you realize something inside is going to tell you, you've been ignoring me the whole fucking time. Like I said, I have an ability to read energy. So when I hear people talk, I'm like, you already know your own answer. Why the fuck are you asking me? I know when people are being clever with themselves. I know that about myself. I choose to be clever. But anyway, Christoph, you're true there. And yes, everything comes across as a riddle. Because most people don't realize how much they riddle themselves. Riddle me this, riddle me that.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. I have an answer in less than a minute flat. No, I'm joking.
Well done, Charles. Charles, you're aware. You just put it in. You put it in lyrics. Well done for you. You know what? Do we have to rap now and shed a tear to show how important that is? It's each their own.
I've noticed that too about music. Even when they interview these rappers, they always come from this real, from like, you know, it's always a sad story. You start playing a violin and shit. When most of these rappers grew up in a home where they had a mother and a father and they went to college, and what is it with people wanting to be from this ghetto or the hood or living in a bad environment? And a lot of them make that shit up, and they grew up in a good home. They had a strong foundation. They were balanced with a mother and a father, but yet, like I said, they want to create this It's crazy. This fucking false, whatever, story. What's up, Lucid? Peace to Scott Severini. 5-speed, unleashed, or unleashed, I think. Is it unleashed or unleashed? Unleashed. Lucid said, give me a few minutes. An hour later. That would be crazy. Well, Scott Severini said, no, we don't die. Death is more programming. This whole realm is life after death. Like Biggie Smalls' album, Life After Death. He faked his death, probably. I even think these people fake their death and go play other roles, because that's how gullible people are. They will believe the person died, and then they like create this, like, it would be perfect. I thought about it, like the rapper is going to predict his death in his rap, so when they play the script out, the rapper dies, and all these people, I mean, not only does the sales go through the roof, but he's worshipped like a god, like Tupac when he died. And not only he's alive still to see it. So then, you know, they go on to play other characters, and there's a lot of evidence out there to prove Tupac is someone else, and we'll not get into that though. But
they do use words.
Look it up.
Go ahead, Charles.
Huh? I just wanted to finish it with, and look how many rappers died in the last 7 years. Someone has caught on to Tupac's trick, but I'll leave it there.
Well, they use the word copyright. You can't copy the right of another being. So there is things like walk-ins, like a guy like, you know, you hear things like called legions, you know, so meaning that a human can have many beings in them. So you think of a guy like Michael Jordan, who used to say that he's not a puppet. You know, this is why when Kanye West was saying certain things about, you know, or other musicians say something takes over. Magicians usually talk about it like a Copperfield, where, you know, they talk about there's entities around us on a regular basis. We don't really grasp the whole concept of what all energy is. So literally, could you go on stage and all of a sudden you get transferred?
I agree. Yeah. I feel that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
More or less when I'm rhyming, I think it's the music that it creates frequency for these entities or something. There's been times I would rhyme and I would be on such a flow that I would go back and listen and be like, you know, how was I thinking this shit up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was just amazed, like I was such on point, and it was just flowing.
That's why they have concept like spiritual cooking, not spiritual cooking the way they present it to the masses. I'm talking about when you understand how to consume gold, blood, urine, if it's done correctly. Forget about what other people talk about urine therapy. You have to understand fasting. You have to understand where the moon, all the luminaries have to be. This is why when people do parasite cleanse, you have to understand what's going in and out of us. We take it for granted, the breath of life, and we take for granted how liquid like water can shapeshift. So who's to say when you're drinking some liquor, or you're smoking weed, or you're drinking blood, or in this case you're talking about playing musical instruments. I don't care if it's 440 or 432. There's a reason why it says 440 or 432. You have to understand the numbers and the energy for those things. There's people that understand that. They understand how music affects people. I don't care if it's Baroque music, rap, it could be country music. It all has different things. You know, they orchestrate a lot of this stuff because you got to somewhat keep people here anchored. It's not a bad thing per se, but for a lot of people, or some people, they think, yeah, but they're entrapped me. I said, no, it's just revealing you're caught up in yourself. Think beyond just the self. You know, realizing there's something that's with you, that's running the vessel the whole time. This is why when they talk about Buddhism or Buddha, you know, let me fast and meditate. Let me abstain from eating because something's doing all the processing, and then let me meditate. Let me listen from within, because we're receivers. You know, it's kind of like, Charles, when you flip open your phone, you have many different apps. It's receiving all kinds of stuff, whether it's a text message, whether it's a phone call, whether it's pictures. You're sitting in the same kind of technology called human vessel, high tech. And we have programs. We all need programs, radio programs, TV programs, are all programs. That's the masculine energy. Now, can you be teachable? That's the feminine energy. This is now when you talk about the unknown manifesting in the known, the negative fueling, in this case, the positive. You know, it's like looking at a car, you know, you need positive and negative, you need grounding. This is very simplistic things when you start presenting it at a young age, but when we get older, we get into these conditioning, and then we don't realize how much we're trying to defend something or attack something, opposed to questioning those things. And when I say question, I'm not talking about questioning others, questioning one's reason, thinking, feeling, emotions, mental. Once you start doing that, you'll realize, holy fuck, I'm not fully developed in those areas. This is where you start talking about Christ consciousness. You have to elevate your intelligence. You have to mature your emotions. Just to share a little bit. That's all that is. What people do with it, that's on them. They can't bitch and complain about me just because I choose to break my silence and talk about it or type about it.
I like this picture right here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the Christians are a gang, and so are the Satanists. So they said, how can gangs do it to this day? They disrespect the other one. So they said, we'll throw our cross upside down to disrespect their symbol. And they use a sheep and we'll use a goat. And, you know, they have a guy that is just the perfect person, and then the Satan's supposed to be, you know, it's that duality. But people got to take the spookism out of everything. I think you just look within yourself, you'll find everything needed. It got everyone looking outside themselves, and that's what's keeping people anchored or stuck.
Caught up in the evil
It's very
world.
hard to let go, man. To a lot of this stuff.
It's attachments. A lot of us are caught up in the evil world, the material world. And then they get caught up in their programs with their likes and dislikes. If you see it just for what it is, what do you mean, Dom? You say evil world. I said, well, when you look out, it's, well, use language to describe it. What do you want to call it? An object? Yeah, you don't see tree. You see a thing that we call an object, that we give identification to it. You can use a different language to describe the same thing. So does that prove it or denounce the fact that the words are on that object? It's like when people talk about flat earth or globalism. You know, Charles, have you met anybody that's been high enough up there to confirm one way or the other, outside of seeing two flashlights in the sky? No, bingo. And then let's say me and you, Charles, for whatever, we get taken up in the spirit and we see it for what the shape is. How the fuck could we explain it to other people?
Probably don't.
Exactly. We'd have to write a whole bunch of fucking books, get a whole bunch of people to be brainwashed. Now we're back to square one. So these people that are talking like it's factual, I was like, okay, let's play.
You know what I would do? I would fly. If I had the option, sorry to interrupt you. If I had the option, I wouldn't tell them anything. Because if I had the option to fly up there, I would be like, okay, you'll see for yourself. And I'd fly them up there and fly the next little bit of people up there. And then the truth would spread. But anyway, go ahead.
No, but again, it would be one of those things. How would it serve at that point? A child would turn around and say, okay, so Dom, you said taking up the spirit. Charles is talking about somebody had to create the device. So once again, we do have our senses. And in our senses, from my awareness, it could easily be misled. I could easily do a hologram of a dolphin coming out of a fucking basketball gymnasium. Doesn't mean that actually it denounces the fact that my senses know everything. So now, when I use my senses here, I see a whole bunch of nature. I see a whole bunch of man-made stuff. I don't see it up in those two flashlights up in the sky. So that's all that is. Now, when people start using NASA, never a straight answer is the way I use it. They're not telling you a lie. You're trusting somebody else. Unless you know your cousin or your parents that have shown to you over and over they're trustworthy, you're going to believe them. But these are the same people that tell you, well, Santa Claus is coming to give you a gift. And then they tell you later on in life, yeah, you know, we're just joking. But make sure you tell your kids the same story. What the fuck is that shit? So now when these people spend an enormous amount of time saying it's factual, I said, so let me understand this. Did you experience the thing that you're telling me to read? Well, no. So then it's a different type of fact then. What do you mean? Because if I experienced it or I observed it and then I wrote it down, that's factual. But reading in a book that the person is no longer alive, to me, that's photocopying, that's telephone, that's parroting information. But unfortunately, people figure, well, there's a million people talking about flat earth. You know, there's billions of people talking about fucking the Quran, Christianity. Could those be stories? Sure, they can be. But put discernment to that shit. You know,
Yeah, look at Muhammad's story.
Which is fine. But if the teachings is, I don't care who writes the teaching, says love thy neighbor, then have discernment. Oh, okay, Dom, love thy neighbor. I've never left my vessel. So who am I talking about? Your fucking vessel, you moron. You know, this is the story people say, well, yeah, but Dom, I know Jesus. I don't give a shit about the guy's name. What's the teachings? I don't give a shit. It's from fucking Satan himself. What's the teaching? Because I can only apply discernment to that. Judging just means, well, I like it or don't like it. Go ahead.
I started reading that book you sent me. The book of Satan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I forgot who wrote it though. It's written by what's his name?
Crowley?
I think LaVey wrote it.
Yeah, again, it's a story. He could have channeled all that information. But again, it's to read it from a discernment point of view, not from it has to be right or wrong, or I agree or disagree. You have to almost observe it for what it is. And then you can say, okay, so well, then what have I been doing? Yeah, you've been doing all your deception, but calling it the truth. If people understood what the truth is, it's an energy. If you're living in somebody else's realm, how the fuck would you be able to be pulled out of it then? You have to know what the truth is. And the truth is most people are caught up here. They're attached here. We all are. No, I can't say we all are. I apologize for saying that. That's what we're generalization. I know I am in a lot of areas. But I'm still willing to talk about it. You know, I'm not going to fool anybody saying, well, Dominic, but you talk about health, but you don't practice it. I said, that's two fucking different things. I can still talk about health. I know, honestly, I don't always practice everything that I talk about, let alone the way I act. I might not even give a shit what I do with that information. But that's on me. That's not on other people. I'm not interested in fucking people following me. If I did, then I'd be forming another cult or a dogma. We already have enough dogmas. The number one, by the way, guys, is commerce. It's not religion. It's not state. It's not biology. It's not science. It's commerce. Anytime you try to sell ideals to people, that's another version of commerce. It's not just about trading your, bartering your stuff. But anyway, I've gone on way too long. I apologize there, Charles.
Whoever this artist is, man, he's got skills. Especially this picture right here.
True. Got that big pyramid up there with one eye and all the luminaries.
I like the violin one. Well, I showed it already, but yeah, he did a good job. I don't know what this is, but
city planners for your own community. These are the 15-minute cities.
yeah, talking about 15-minute cities. I just learned the other day that fucking, is it Brazil? Brazil's on fire now. Same as the California. And the crazy part is people always find maps of like a railway. The California, there's supposed to be something that was going through there. The oil or the railway. Same thing with Maui, 15-minute cities, and now Brazil. Where it's on fire there, there's supposed to be. It's crazy, man. These people burn you out of there. They don't give a fuck. Oh, you don't want to sell it? Oh, okay, we'll get you out of there. We'll evict you somehow. We'll just take it. They have no problem with that. But then when I say, let's take it back, I'm the bad guy. People are fucked. They'll even defend the fucking people. It's crazy.
No, it's true, Charles. What you just said is true. Again, that's the pushback you will get. It's the masses not realizing how much they defend and attack something they don't understand. I've heard people say to me before, Dom, I don't understand you, but I disagree with you. How the fuck can you say that oxymoron?
Yeah, that's a major oxymoron.
You know, because they don't realize they parrot. Like to me, I don't care if when somebody says to me, Dom, you know, I agree or disagree. I said, do I look like I'm the kind of guy that fucking cares about your approval? The best a person could ever do for each other, the respect, is to hear them out. Saying I agree or I disagree, that's the ego talking. I don't need your validation, but I get it. For most people, if they're hearing themselves, they're sharing the way they've been programmed. I heard a gentleman the other day, a buddy of mine, his friend, we were chit-chatting, and he was telling me, he's trying to explain to me when people used to use magnets and they used to, like, you know, say, I don't say I agree with it, but, you know, magnetize an ant to kill an ant. He was talking about getting a truck, the back of a truck, pick up the mirror, holding it up towards the sun, pointing it towards a rock that's inside of their pool, and it warms up the whole pool. And as we were chit-chatting, he told me, he says, now you understand a little bit about laser technology. To a point, if you actually point it to a certain item, it will explode it. Again, a lot of us don't understand, or some people don't understand, what is that object in the sky? What is that? That's not heat. And if you can use some sort of device here to magnetic. Go ahead.
You know what I think? You're talking about the sun, right?
Yep.
I always thought the sun, it reminds me of when you point a laser at the wall, when you see the dot, not that you don't see the laser. That's what it kind of reminds me of, spinning from the center. Like sun from the center is a laser pointing at the firmament. That's what the sun is. I've seen a lot of old school drawings where the sun has a laser going to it. I don't know. That's what it reminds me of. I play with lasers a lot with my cat. And who knows? I don't know what the sun is. I would like to know, but
using it as a magnet, and then you don't point it towards the water, you point it towards some sort of object, and it will actually heat the water that's around it. Now you can use something else like a wall. And again, it's the sun, S-O-N. And people base their calendars based on that sign. What about its father? This is where people start talking about in Africa, about the luminary called Ceres. And they supposedly say it was a 10-day cycle. That would resonate with me because we're using 10 digits, 0 to 9, even though 0 is the holding number. And then you have like a holding number, not a holding number, but a holding number. And then, of course, people have to understand the energy of number 7, number 8, number 9. Number 9 is just the spiritual meeting the material. That's the energy to that. That's why when people learn, if I multiply number 9 except for with 0, it keeps on adding back to number 9 because it's a perpetual cycle. Now, the infinite number 8, that's the material number. This is why the Asians like number 8. You constantly do the rebirth process consciously. And now number 4, this is why when people hear, I saw 4 number 1s, that's 4. That's time. These are gauges. I'm not saying that's what it is, but we use different language to gauge or describe other languages. Not to say I understand all of this, Charles. There's a lot of people who've done a lot of work, and we should be sharing that with each other. And then hopefully the younger generation can learn at a younger age, and then they can harness those crafts, opposed to some 59-year-old person. That's the vessel I'm in right now, just becoming aware of this maybe the last 20 years. So it's the rest of it. I've just been living like most people and still am. Got to go out there, got to go to work, earn money, help some of the elite family become that much more well off, and not realizing who gives me all the stuff that I use as an electrician. Well, they tell me that it's being made in China. It could be.
First dispute between Christopher Columbus and the American Indian over the empire. Really? And what's that? That looks like a fucking thing you put spaghetti through. I don't even believe Christopher Columbus was a real voyager. But Who knows?
More stories. Some of them could have been valid, but again, it's stories, it's history, you know. And whoever writes those stories, because you know, unless you meet an immortal who can speak it to you, it can only be written from pen to paper or scroll form. And again, if people are going to play with the ideal that the victors write the story, so am I to assume the Bible was not changed, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Buddhism teachings? Again, if something's been meant, inspired, then through inspiration, you should be able to grasp that. That's why some people, when they talk about like Edward Casey, supposedly he could put a book underneath his pillow and that information would come to him. Again, if it was inspired to be written by something. This is where they talk about Gabriel, the Archangel Gabriel, was able to communicate whether through or around a guy like Muhammad, who was supposedly illiterate. Again, those are stories. But a lot of people do talk about, you know, when you start talking among other people in the spiritual realms, you know, people download information. So where are they downloading it? To the upper hemisphere or to the midbrain? This is where people talk about insight, intuition, intuitiveness, you know, even intelligent. The word "in" gives it away. We have many receivers in this vessel. Well, Charles, I'm going to drop off. Have a beautiful day, my friend.
All right, Dom. Thank you, man. I appreciate you coming up and sharing. That's a lot of information people should take in. It seems the Indians, or the so-called black people, sold a lot of tobacco and probably weed, hemp, and who knows, probably corn. Then I bet you the Europeans came, or someone from over there, Spain, somewhere, and bought like land and wanted to build skyscrapers, and that pissed them off. But I personally don't think North America was barren like that. I think there already was cities here. You know, they teach like so-called white man was the only one building stuff. I think all these Indians had the knowledge to build, and they were very intelligent. You know, they already had buildings, pyramids, or whatever. I think this picture is hilarious. The foreigner in his bear suit looks funny as ever. Ah, that's funny, maggot. Well, since no one's coming up, I'm going to pick somebody's video, I guess, to play. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Domenic set the mic on fire, man. Definitely get you thinking outside of all these boxes being your home material. You know, the phone's another box, the TV's another box, the system's a box, everything's a box, everything's a prison for your mind. You know whose channel I like, man? Mind Unveiled. I think I might borrow one of his videos and play it. Mind Unveiled. Excuse me. That's the channel I was confused when the other day he said Mindful Exposures. I was confusing her name with that guy's channel. I'll be right back. Nope. Hold on. Hold up. Let's see what happens here. Transfer over. Do 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 do. Damn, Lucid, I thought you was coming up. You got your son, huh? Children are definitely a full-time job, man. It's not even a job. It's full time, or it takes your full attention. Put it that way. It's not a job. It's um it's part of life. Forgot the dude's channel's name. Mind Unveiled or something. Yeah, Mind Unveiled. Shout out to Mind Unveiled, man. 280K. It's doing good, man. It seems he cleaned house though. He's only got 112 videos. I could have sworn he had more than that. Lost Tribes of Cathay. King would be King. King, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, maybe I'll play that. The Lost Tribes. Homeboy's got the voice for it. Mind Unveiled. Alright, now I gotta sign in to StreamYizzle. I was gonna jump off, but I was like, it's early. I didn't even realize it's only 10 o'clock. Alright. Mic check, mic check. Alright. Veiled Lost
Hey guys. Today, we're diving into some super interesting parts of Chinese history. Big shout out to Hathmas from the Spanish channel for the heads up and all the help. Definitely check out the channel if you want to watch our videos in Spanish. Also, gotta thank KD for laying down the foundation for all of this. So yeah, let's jump right into it. I thought it'd be cool to start a series exploring the mysterious side of China, like Tartaria, history hijacks, and lost history. This is some pretty wild stuff we're about to jump into, and it's tough to find the perfect starting point. But what if I told you there was a world war before World War I? It's not something we're taught in school, or it's not really widely known about. Apparently, there was an international conflict involving a secret society of kung fu fighters, which at the time was referred to as Chinese boxing. This is known as the Boxer Rebellion. The whole story is pretty crazy. It starts with a small group of villagers who decided to take on foreign affairs into their own hands without any weapons. Their main practice was a type of spiritual possession involving incantations to deities and violent prostrations. They claimed supernatural invulnerability against cannons, rifles, and knife attacks. This group gained popularity and claimed that millions of soldiers would descend from heaven to assist them in eliminating the foreigners. What's even stranger is that an entire 8-nation alliance was needed to quell this rebellion, with even the United States getting involved. To intervene in a rebellion aimed at reviving the true Qing dynasty. This secret society sparked an uprising due to the growing influence of foreign spheres in China, leading Western powers and Japan to team up against this rebellion. What's crazy is that the 8-nation alliance brought 20,000 armed troops into China for this, and it supposedly took months to finally end the rebellion. Not sure if it was just 8 nations. Here's a photo where we can spot Australia and India, and possibly Russia was also involved but missing from the group photo, hinting that maybe more countries were involved in this event than officially listed. Well, the story goes that the Boxers decided to kill a bunch of Christians and foreigners, even deciding to burn some churches, and so the entire world needed to step in to rescue these people getting killed by these kung fu fighters. Remember, we only know the victor's side of the story. What's fascinating is seeing Americans, Japanese, and Germans banding together against the rebellion. In one of the main events, the Siege of the International Legations, which unfolded in Tartar City, which is essentially the inner walled city of Beijing, back then called Peking, Tartar City, designated for the Manchus, the Qing dynasty's ruling class, and the imperial family. It was encircled by this massive Tartar wall. The massive wall ringed the entire city of Beijing, stretching a total of 37 miles, was built in the 1400s during the Ming Dynasty. There are these old photos that reveal its grand scale and a style that doesn't quite align with traditional Chinese architecture. We can talk more about that soon, but this siege was essentially the whole world teaming up, which is really crazy for its time. A bunch of people who were enemies all teamed up and basically created an international police force for the first time in order to put a stop to these Chinese boxing peasants that believed they were impervious to bullets. But why were they such a threat to the powers that be? Why send so many nations in? Perhaps this has something to do with the Qing dynasty, which had been in power since the 1640s. The Boxer War was brutal, with mainstream estimates up to 100,000 deaths among the Boxers and Chinese civilians. Many were killed in battles, but there were also these horrifying executions that defy any notion of civility. Of course, the story is that these Boxers were killing Christians and foreigners, but these executions were horrible, where their heads were removed and then they have like these postcards and photos of this stuff as a way to show off. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but it's just strange because these people were tortured in medieval types of ways in the early 1900s, and this was to appease foreign powers. Whatever happened, it seems that there's more to this story. Who was behind the Qing dynasty, and what forces were they up against? This conflict spanned nearly 2 years, suggesting the 8-nation alliance weren't just facing simple kung fu farmers. Could the Kuching massacre have been a pretext, a false flag to justify
Whenever he talks about the kung fu boxers, that song comes up in my head. They were kung fu fighting. Nah, but seriously, I didn't know about this war. Pretty interesting so far.
The Boxer Rebellion, it wasn't just the Boxers. There were also Muslim armies involved. Quote, the Gansu Braves, or Gansu Army, was a unit of 10,000 Chinese Muslim troops from the northwestern province of Gansu in the last decades of the Qing dynasty. Loyal to the Qing, the Braves were recruited in 1895 to suppress a Muslim revolt in Gansu. Under the command of General Dong Fushang, they were transferred to the Beijing metropolitan area in 1898, where they officially became the rear division of the Wu Wei Corps, a modern army that protected the imperial capital. The Braves, who wore traditional uniforms but were armed with modern rifles and artillery, played an important role in the 1900s during the Boxer Rebellion. After helping to repel the Seymour expedition, a multinational foreign force sent from Tianjin to relieve the Beijing legation quarter in early June, the Muslim troops were the fiercest attackers during the siege of the legations from 20th of June to the 14th of August. They suffered heavy casualties at the Battle of Peking, in which the Eight-Nation Alliance relieved the siege. End quote. This shed some light on how they managed to hold their ground against foreign powers. They had rallied an actual army, including armed Muslims, in defense of the Qing dynasty. The numbers might have been greater than officially acknowledged, too. Furthermore, the Manchurian language and their script looks very similar to Arabic. This is supposedly because both scripts are descendants of Aramaic, so there does seem to be a historical connection. Now, there are many layers to this, but let's rewind a bit and talk about the Qing dynasty. This is the last imperial dynasty of China, established in 1636, and it was founded by the Manchus after they conquered the previous Ming dynasty. Now, this is all according to mainstream narrative and timelines, but the Qing dynasty didn't get a flag until the late 19th century, which is a blue dragon on a yellow flag. But what was their flag before this? Tartaria also happens to be a yellow flag. Let's keep in mind that Tartary was still on maps in this area up until the 1800s, so was the Qing dynasty perhaps connected with the Tartarians in some way? Interestingly, there are some Interestingly, there are some Jesuit accounts of this Manchu takeover of the Ming dynasty. This was called the Tartar War. In Martino Martini's De Bello Tartarico, or about the Tartar War, there's a depiction given as the front piece of the book. This engraving shows the conflict between the Manchus and the native Chinese. For one, the Manchu warrior is depicted as a European, and this was not just artist error, as Martini says that the Manchus were not barbarians. They were more human, meaning more European than Chinese. What's also interesting is that the Jesuits during this time referred to the Manchus as Tartars, hence the Tartar War. But let's look at this variants. They were more human, meaning more European than Chinese. What's also interesting is that the Jesuits during this time referred to the Manchus as Tartars, hence the Tartar War. But let's look at this Manchu War. warrior again. Now take notice, he's holding what seems to be a head of a Chinese person. But apparently historians have noted that the haircut, or what is supposed to be a Manchu queue, looks more like a Cossack's hair. The Manchu hairstyle or queue was a specifically male hairstyle worn by the Manchu from central Manchuria and later imposed on the Han Chinese during the Qing dynasty. The hair on the front of the head was shaved off above the temples every 10 days, and the remainder of the hair was braided into a long braid. We'll talk more about that in another episode, but in this depiction from the Jesuits, the hairstyle looks more like a Cossack's hairstyle, which is also related to the Polish half-shaven head, the Ukrainian chub haircut. Historians say that this is an inconsistency in the picture, but it does kind of look like the Cossacks haircut, which would be interesting because the Cossacks are pretty much the descendants of the Vikings. It's also important to note that maps from the 1600s and before show Tartaria with a label under it that says Ancient Scythia. The ancient Greeks called it Great Scythia, which referred to all the lands northeast of Europe. This area covered a large portion of China. In mainstream history, it's much smaller in size, but in older maps, the size varies throughout Central Asia to the border of China. Look at this Ortelius map from 1572. We see Tartaria reaching to the border, and the text says Tartaria, which includes Asian Sarmatia and both the ancient Scythias. Now, in the mainstream story, Tartary is supposed to be just a landmass with a bunch of illiterate tent dwellers. However, let's dive into that because some of these maps are very interesting. First off, look at the buildings that don't look to be tents, but kingdoms. And specifically this one over here, as we'll discuss shortly. For example, how could there be an emperor or king of Tartaria? Look at this massive tent here, and the text says, Great Khan, which, in the language of the Tartars, Prince of Asia. So wait, the Khans are the Tartars. It's the Tartar word for emperor. This gets into Marco Polo, and we can break this down more fully in future videos as there are many interesting things from his travels, but specifically focusing on his trip to China, some things don't really add up with this whole narrative. There are even historians who doubt that he visited China because there are many things he didn't feel the need to mention. Like he doesn't mention the Great Wall of China, doesn't mention tea, foot binding, nor does he even discuss the Chinese script. Which sure, mainstream scholars will choose what they want to use and scrap what doesn't work for the official narrative. However, this is the first traveler's account of the East to the European world, and this was during the late 13th century. Which is strange because the Wall of China is depicted on the Urbano Monte map. Interesting that Marco Polo has a depiction of himself wearing a Tartar outfit with the owl. And also, let's keep in mind that China during this time was called Cathay. Marco Polo started his journey in the 1200s and met with Kublai Khan. Yet, what if we're not being told the full story? Kublai Khan is depicted as a Mongol in the modern day. However, there is an older depiction from the Marco Polo book that shows the Khan of Cathay. Doesn't look like the same people. Also notice the style of hats looks to be the same as ancient Jewish priests. This isn't the only one. There are descriptions of Kublai Khan's court, and it's the same thing. Marco Polo described great parties hosted by Kublai Khan with as many as 40,000 guests. He reported that Khan once received a gift of more than 1,000 white horses, very beautiful and fine, and employed 10,000 falconers carrying gerfalcons, peregrines, stag falcons, and ghost sharks, and 20,000 dog handlers. He also had an unstated number of lions, leopards, and lynxes to go after wild boars and other big animals, and 5,000 elephants, all covered with beautiful clothes. He wrote that Kublai Khan's palace contained a dining area that could seat 6,000 and was surrounded by a 4-mile wall. But these numbers are thought to be exaggerations. So anytime there's something that doesn't fit the mainstream narrative is an exaggeration. Yet, Marco Polo swore that he was telling the truth and that he couldn't even fit everything into his accounts. He said that if he were trying to explain everything that he encountered, most people wouldn't believe it. Take a look at this. Now listen, there's a description of Cathay or Cathea. Quote, Cathea, which was of old called Scythia, without the mountain Imam, as Zagatea, Scythia within Amas, took its name from the Cathi, whom Strabo here placeth, north, lying also eastward from the Tartarian provinces. The Saras were thought anciently to inhabit here, who being very expert in weaving silks made a fine wool on the leaves of trees, caused silk to be called in Latin serica. The Cathians and Zagatians are the noblest and civilest among the Tartars, and lovers of all arts. Herein are diverse fair cities, whereof Kambala, 28 miles about, besides the suburbs, as some say, is the chief. Here the great Cham Khan resides, but in Shandu he hath a palace almost of incredible largeness and stateliness. The first of the great Chams or Khan or emperors of Tartary was Singhis or Zingis in 1162, who subduing Un-Cham, Un-Khan, the last king of Tenduk and Kathaya, changed the name of Scythia into Tartaria. End quote. So there you go. It's talking about massive cities. Scythia was converted into Tartaria, which was done by a great Khan or emperor of Cathay, and this was King Zingis, very close to Genghis Khan, which is not the exact dates were given, but we need to consider there may be some alterations in our timeline here. Also, Genghis has many different depictions. However, it is said that he had red hair and blue or gray eyes. Kind of interesting to consider as we continue to connect all of this. There are also the Liqian people who are described as Chinese Romans who inhabited the Yunnan province. Their features are more European compared to the Han Chinese. However, apparently, according to the wiki, the theory that they came from the Roman soldiers has been debunked, but it is interesting to consider. Did Marco Polo really go into China during the late 1200s? Or maybe Marco Polo went in the 1600s and were given a distorted timeline. So if we take into consideration
Did you just cancel the ride?
No.
The app says you did.
that the timeline has added ghost years, what if Marco Polo is really telling us about things in the 15th or 16th century, and the Khan that he was working for was really the Tartars or the Qing dynasty? So Manchu, Qing, and Tartar seem to be referencing the same thing here. But let's keep diving deeper as it just keeps getting crazier. Okay, so Cathay or China was once ancient Scythia, and we know that Scythia was eventually changed to Tartaria. One story that may connect with all of this is the Queen of Scythia. Tomiris is a queen that was mentioned by Herodotus, and she was the ruler of this ancient Tartaria. She's depicted as being fair-skinned with red or blonde hair, and there's this whole story about how she had to defend her nation from an attack by Cyrus the Great, where she defeated him and severed his head. This was quite popular during Renaissance art and would typically be depicted receiving the head of Cyrus. Now, there is one depiction that's intriguing. There is a tapestry from the early 1500s showing Cyrus proposing to Queen Tomiris, and she is rejecting him. However, there are some very fascinating aspects of this depiction. For one, there are Celtic designs on her dress. They don't seem to be nomads or tent dwellers, and yet look at this pillar right behind her. But even more surprising is that in the background, we see a detail of her city. So wait, this is what a Scythian city is supposed to look like? Those are skyscrapers in the background. But of course, we'll just be told the artist imagined these things. Another interesting detail that we can talk more about in a moment is look at this lion right here, which looks just like the Chinese lion. We will see the same decorations as we continue, but I thought that was worthy to note because this is quite common in Chinese culture as well. In a universal history from the earliest accounts to the present time from 1779, there is an account of the Scythian queen. Tomiris, or Tamaris, was the heroine whom we are told Cyrus the Great demanded in marriage. But she, supporting that her kingdom rather than her person was ambassadors not to proceed. Cyrus, provoked either at her refusal or at her suspecting his artifice, advanced with his army against the Masagatis, who were
This is my daughter. Yeah. She said, why we have to move?
and there are Celtic designs on her dress. They don't seem to be nomads or tent dwellers, and yet look at this pillar right behind her. But even more surprising is that in the background, we see a detail of her city. So wait, this is what a Scythian city is supposed to look like? Those are skyscrapers in the background. But of course, we'll just be told the artist imagined these things. Another interesting detail that we can talk more about in a moment is look at this lion right here, which looks just like the Chinese lion. We will see the same decorations as we continue, but I thought that was worthy to note because this is quite common in Chinese culture as well. In a universal history from the earliest accounts to the present time from 1779, there is an account of the Scythian queen. Tomiris, or Tamaris, was the heroine whom we are told Cyrus the Great demanded in marriage. But she, supporting that her kingdom rather than her person was
I got booted out, I guess. Anyway, I stopped it on time. How do y'all like this dude's channel? All his videos are top notch like this. He puts a lot of work into his videos. And he does good research, and he's blown my mind on all this stuff. And the way he looks into the Asian different tribes, and he lines up the hairstyles and all that stuff. Shit. It's inspiring me to create content again. Anyway, let me shut up and play the rest of this. I think it's halfway done. Damn commercials be tripping me up.
Or under her dominion. So it wasn't her love that he wanted her city. Meaning, it obviously was a very impressive city and not just a bunch of tents. And this is referenced during the time of Herodotus. But this could actually be much closer in time than we're led to believe. Here is a depiction of Cyrus taking over another king and city. But look at the flags. These are coat of arms, and the exact same line in that same position was the coat of arms for Tomarus. So is Cyrus taking over her city? Look at the architecture in the background. That's quite impressive. Is it possible that there were nations, cities, massive amounts of architecture in this part of China or Tartaria, ancient Scythia? Well, let's go back to that map that we were looking at earlier. There's another detail I need to bring up. If we come up to the Bering Strait, we see a couple of interesting paragraphs. One is Arsareth, and the other is Argon. This is what the text says for Arsareth. Arsareth. Here, the 10 tribes separated, and in the place of the Tartars, they established themselves in the Scythian manner. Hence, they are called Gothi or Gothe, to be honored from the highest glory of God. And from this place, the kingdom became famous as Cathay. Well, hold up. The lost tribes of Israel ended up in this area? Do they have something to do with Tartaria? They established themselves in the Scythian manner and are called Gothe, which seems to have Celtic roots. But let's continue. Argon says this. Once there was in Asia a Christian kingdom known to Prester John, and D. Thomas founded it in this place, so that it was in contact with the Church of Rome, and was subjected to Rome through Prester John of Africa, before it was defeated by the Goths. It was known as Crieu Remoye. Not exactly sure how to pronounce that, but there was a Christian kingdom up in this area. And there's this whole thing about whether Prester John was the king of Ethiopia or Asia, as there is a depiction of Prester John being a chief of a Christian tribe, so they say, in Tartary or Tartaria. However, in other depictions, he seems to be depicted as black, which would be interesting considering the connection to Spain and Aragon. Apparently, on this map, it's saying that a D. Thomas came and found this land for Prester John, who was obedient to the Church of Rome. This Aragon used to be known as Crieu Rimoe. There are a lot of connections to be made, as Aragon, etymologically speaking, would seem to be Celtic in origin. The Argonauts were searching for the Golden Fleece as they made their way east, trying to discover some type of advanced sacred object. There's also Aragon in Spain, which was originally founded by the Celts. But interestingly, this area is also written as Aragon in some maps. Herodotus makes mention to a king Arganthonios who ruled Tartessos for 80 years, from about 625 BC to 545 BC, and lived to be 120 years old, although some believe he lived to 150. Tartessos is in southern Spain, but an interesting connection, and the word Arganthonios appears to be based on the Indo-European word for silver, secondarily money, reconstructed as Proto-Celtic Arganto and Proto-Italic as Argentum. There could have been groups of Moors in this region, which would explain the Arabic influence in Chinese Muslims. So Aragon could be a reference to a land filled with resources, and apparently Aragon was once known as Crieu Rimoe, which was in the Manchurian region. This city was named after Rome, so Romans were in China? Now keep in mind, it's not the Rome that we officially have been told in mainstream history. However, it would seem the same people who helped establish Rome made their way to establish kingdoms in the Far East. There's another name on here that is curious, that we'll have to go into more in detail on another part of the series. But for now, it'll be good to mention that there's also Ania, and the Bering Strait used to be called the Stretto de Anian. This is significant because it would seem that this Ania kingdom had crossed the Bering Strait and set up kingdoms in America, known as the Anian Kingdom. There are full-on kingdoms in America during a time that they shouldn't be there. And it's even mentioned that these people lived like the Tartars, or were the Tartarians. So the Anian Regnum, or kingdom, was somewhere in British Columbia. It's fascinating to think that these kingdoms in Asia, or Tartaria, made their way to America before Columbus, according to many of these maps. That sure would be an easier journey, and they could have been doing that for centuries before the West even knew about the New World. Let's look at the Fra Mauro map, which gives an entirely different picture of what Asia looked like in the 1460s. Not only is the map drawn upside down, which makes it confusing, but Tartaria is depicted in most of the impressive architecture is on the far east, right where it says Chatao, which I'm assuming is another version of Cathay or Cathaya, so China. But look at this architecture. This isn't the same type of buildings that they use throughout the entire map, because if you look at Europe, there's no comparison. The buildings in the Far East are massive, as if there was an advanced civilization in this area during this time. And these depictions match with the descriptions given to us by Marco Polo. Also, in Urbano Monte's map, we see Catiao mentioned, and it's curious to consider, is Cathay a reference to the Cathars being in China? Obviously, the story we're told is that they were limited to Western Europe. But when you really break down their ideology, it's possible that they are perhaps an older form of Christianity. They did believe that the Catholic Church was a hijacked satanic religion. Interestingly, the story is that Catharism has its origin in Manichaeism, which was a similar ideology of dualism, but older and present in the East. Perhaps the story is backwards, and this ideology, or older version of Christianity, made its way into China and was actually quite prevalent. We can discuss that more in a future video, but thought it would be interesting to mention. However, let's look back at the map and discuss the architecture. I believe that there were massive amounts of kingdoms and buildings in this area, and this was around the 15th century, not thousands of years ago. Then we're fed a completely messed up history in which all of this was erased. And one of the interesting pieces of evidence that support this has to do with the lost city. Well, it's not necessarily lost, but it most likely has been renamed or moved around. First off, why are maps even mentioning Scythia if it supposedly ended around 100 BC? Doesn't really make sense to include ancient kingdoms on contemporary maps, so maybe Scythia is from a more recent time. Let's keep in mind that Marco Polo was working with the Jesuits. Maybe there's some information that's not being fully told to us, but there is an account from Marco Polo during his travels to China where he describes his favorite city. In his travels, this city is called Kinzay, but on maps you'll see it spelled as Quinsay or Quinsai, and this was the city of heaven according to the book. Quote, "And since we have got thither, I will enter into particulars about its magnificence, and these are well worth the telling. For the city is beyond dispute the finest and noblest in the world. In this we shall speak according to the written statement which the queen of this realm sent to Bayan the conqueror of the country for transmission to the great Khan, in order that he might be aware of the surpassing grandeur of the city and might be moved to save it from destruction or injury. I will tell you all the truth as it was set down in that document, for truth it was, as the said messenger Marco Polo at a later date was able to witness with his own eyes, and now we shall rehearse those particulars." End quote. So a queen had written to the Khan to describe the beauty of the city so that he would be determined to come and save it from destruction? And as Marco Polo was working for the Khan, he was sent to investigate the city. It literally even says that Marco Polo saw it with his eyes and that everything he's saying is truth. But this But this is where it gets crazy because historians just can't accept that this description is possible because it's just so insane. So they just say he's exaggerating. But I really wonder why. Why would he want to exaggerate when his whole purpose was to explore these lands and relay this to the West? Why would he be saying that there is no other city in the world that even comes close to Kinzay's magnificence? Now listen to this. So this city was 100 miles in circumference, and it had 12,000 bridges of stone. Yes, 12,000. And they were so large that a great fleet could pass beneath them. Not just that, Marco Polo says if the bridges are not impressive enough, the entire city stands as if it were on the water and surrounded by water. Wait, hold on. This is literally a floating city like Tenochtitlan, which we can make some more connection to in a moment. But this is the Chinese version of that, and they even have some 1600s depictions of Quinzay that are really interesting. This doesn't look like a Chinese city. Look at the obelisk and the massive buildings. It's on a star fort with many different pools and waterways throughout the city, which would make more sense with the claim that there were over 10,000 bridges. Let's keep in mind that the mainstream narrative says that Quinzay is modern day Hangzhou in China, but I'm not so sure if that's the case. Hangzhou is located much more south, but in older maps you can see that Quinzay was more above Japan near the Anian Strait. Did they move the location of the city in order to cover up this history as it didn't align with the narrative they wanted for China? There's more to his description and it's quite detailed. Quote, inside the city, there's a lake which has a compass of some 30 miles. And all around it are erected beautiful palaces and mansions of the richest and most exquisite structure that you can imagine, belonging to the nobles of the city. There are also on its shores many abbeys and churches of the idolaters. In the middle of the lake are 2 islands, on each of which stands a rich, beautiful, and spacious edifice, furnished in such style as to seem fit for the palace of an emperor. Know also that the great Khan hath distributed the territory of Manzi into 9 parts, which he hath constituted into 9 kingdoms. To each of these kingdoms a king is appointed, who is subordinate to the great Khan, and every year renders the accounts of his kingdom to the fiscal office of the capital. The city of Kinzay is the seat of one of these kings, who rules over 140 great and wealthy cities. For in the whole of this vast country of Manzi, there are more than 1,200 great and wealthy cities, without counting the towns and villages, which are in great numbers. And this was an operation, and they had hundreds of cities in this region that were comparable in wealth, which is quite shocking to think about. But that lines up with the Fra Mauro map and all the architecture that we see in the East. There's also this description of Shimien, which I found to be interesting. Apparently, this is supposed to be somewhere in Burma. This doesn't seem to be an exaggeration either, as there are many of these temples and pagodas still standing today. Apparently, at one time, there was over 10,000 of these in this area, but now only 2,000 remain. The interesting thing about the connection between Quinzay and Tenochtitlan is the dragon. Quetzalcoatl was the most revered god of Mesoamerica, depicted as a feathered serpent. Is it just a coincidence that China also reveres the dragon? Also, the Han people do consider themselves to be the descendants of the dragon, which was also the Qing dynasty's flag from 1889, a dragon seemingly swallowing a red sun. And Quetzalcoatl is depicted swallowing a man. This also connects with the Bichone or Vipera, which is basically a coat of arms logo for elite Italian families. But I just find it interesting that we see the same symbol repeated. Also, Quetzalcoatl was also described as being white and bearded. Perhaps there were Christian groups or even the lost tribes of Israel that had separated and made their way to the far east, eventually crossing the Aenean Strait, establishing the Aenean Kingdom and making their way down to the south. Another interesting thing to consider is the mention of Serica on these old maps. On the Ortelius and Moro maps, we see a reference to Serica in the Serica Sea or Sericus, which is around the area where Quinsay would be. I also didn't mention it, but you can see Quinsay on the Fra Moro map as Chansay, and it looks pretty massive on here too. This is on the Serica wiki page, but it kind of connects with all this. Quote, Pliny also reports a curious description of the Ceres made by an embassy from Taprobani to Emperor Claudius, suggesting they may be referring to the Indo-European populations of the Tarim Basin, such as the Tocharians. They also informed us that the side of their island which lies opposite to India is 10,000 stadia in length and runs in a southeasterly direction. That beyond the Modian Mountains, Himalayas, they looked towards the Survey, Ceres, whose acquaintance they had also made in the pursuits of commerce, that the father and that the Sere always came to meet them on their arrival. These people, they said, exceeded the ordinary human height, had flaxen hair and blue eyes, and made an uncouth sort of noise by way of talking, having no language of their own for the purpose of communicating their thoughts. End quote. So the people in this area of the Tarim Basin could possibly be the Tocharians. They were an Indo-European culture that had settled in this area thousands of years ago according to mainstream timelines. Here is a depiction of a royal family and the fair-haired princes. The Tarim Basin is also home to the Tarim mummies that were well preserved and feature Caucasoid features such as with the Lulon beauty. A genetic study of remains from the oldest layer of the Shaohe cemetery found that the maternal lineages were a mixture of East and West Eurasian types, while the paternal lineages were of West Eurasian type. It is unknown whether they are connected with the frescoes painted at Tocharian sites more than 2 millennia later, which also depict light eyes and hair color. Quote, the mummies were found with plaid-woven tapestries that are notably similar to the weaving pattern of the tartan style of the Hallstatt culture of Central Europe, associated with Celts. The wool used in the tapestries was found to come from sheep with European ancestry. End quote. Also, there is the Churchin man, which is another Tarim mummy that features Caucasian features. His hair was reddish-brown flecked with gray, framing high cheekbones. He had an aquiline long nose, full lips, and a ginger beard, and was wearing a red twill tunic and leggings with a pattern resembling tartan. He was buried in a tomb made of mud bricks, and there's also his wife that's extremely well preserved, which is kind of insane because they're saying this is from 1000 BC. The interesting thing about this is that the Manchus are descendants of the Jurchen people, which I believe it's pronounced Churchin, but it's spelled with a J, which is interesting if we connect that to the Churchin man. Okay, so let's finish off with bridges, and then we'll continue with some more crazy stuff in part 2. Now remember, Marco Polo was saying there were some very impressive bridges in China, and I was looking into ancient bridges and found a couple of interest. One is literally called the Marco Polo inconsistencies with the depictions. This bridge was mentioned and described by Marco Polo, and we even have a painting of what this originally looked like. The beginning of the bridge was a fine marble column, and under it a marble lion. Now, supposedly, the one that stands today is not the same one and was rebuilt in the late 1600s that are no longer there or don't look anything like the modern one that they claim it to be. This particularly became apparent when looking into the Opium Wars. There's this one battle called the Battle of Palikao or Palikao, which means the Battle of the 8-Mile Bridge. It was a battle on this massive bridge. According to the engraving of the battle, I mean, look how massive this thing is. They could fight a battle on here with cannons, and it looks like there's tens of thousands of people depicted on this bridge. However, this bridge is in Beijing, and it's called the Balichao Bridge. But if you look at the bridge that they claim to be this 8-mile bridge, it looks nothing like the original engraving from 1860. In fact, I doubt you could really fight a battle on this bridge as it looks too small. Yet they say that the 8 miles is a reference to the bridge being 8 Chinese miles from a certain district. It's almost as if this is a cover story because they have a photo from 1860. So how do you take a photo of this bridge in 1860 and then release an engraving during the same time depicting it in a completely different fashion? 30,000 soldiers were fighting on this bridge? And why are the lions so much smaller than in the engraving? 8 miles would be a massive feat, which sounds insane, but remember what Marco Polo was saying about the bridges in Quincy, massive, allowing for the engraving of the battle. When we look at the engraving of the battle, perhaps there were bridges and features of architecture in China that the powers that be don't want us to know about. There is the Luoyang Bridge, which is said to be the first stone bridge in China, but it is pretty massive to be the first time to attempt such a thing. It's almost a mile long, and it's over 1,000 years old. However, if we're to consider Marco Polo's account of China, he makes mention of highly sophisticated engineering involving fine stone and decorated with precious metals. Was Marco Polo really an explorer? Perhaps that's just the cover. And he really was a spy trying to learn as much as possible for the Pope. This involved military strategies, which is pretty crazy. Did you know that the Chinese had a repeating crossbow that dates to 400 BC? They had a repeating crossbow which would allow them to shoot continuously, and Marco Polo does mention a lot of these weapons. But the craziest thing is that supposedly, Marco Polo actually made it to North America. A sheepskin map believed to be a copy of the 13th century Italian explorers may indicate that Marco Polo came upon modern-day Alaska. This would mean that either Marco Polo went there in the 13th century and gave this information to the Venetians, or he got this information from the Chinese or Arabs. What's interesting is that they dated the sheepskin to the 16th century, which would make sense that we consider that perhaps there's some phantom time occurring and Marco Polo's travels actually occurred in the 1500s after some type of reset event. We'll discuss this further in part 2, but let us know if you enjoyed the video and if there's anything else you think is connected that we should look into further. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Also, I'm not claiming to know all the answers or be
That was interesting. Very interesting. What's good in the groove? Yeah, that video is dope. I took a lot of notes and it's gonna help me. What I liked is he had that entire map of with all the castles on it. That's a map I need to get the entire map where I could zoom in. Because that map, man, it has a lot of castles and a lot of stuff that would help my research. Definitely gonna finish that song today. Do the. I don't know why I call it a song. It's not even a fucking song. It's a quick freestyle. It's a minute and some change. Then I'm gonna start laying verses down to this other beat. And it's only 11 a.m. I've been, damn, almost 4 hours already. I went live early anyway, an hour early. I know it's a beautiful day here in Connecticut. But I dropped the link if anyone wants to come up. I'll give it 10 minutes. If not, I'm gonna jump off. I'm gonna jump off the bridge. Oh yeah, not that city. The city of Tartar. Thoth and Hermes. Are they one and the same? Does anybody know? Lizards. Lizard people live under the ground. Shh. Alright, I waited. I don't see no one coming up, so I'm out, man. I gave it 10 minitos. Three hours, 55 minutes. Peace to Maggot, In the Groove. Scott Severini, Joe King. Christos. Lucid, which is Jay Phillips. Dom, appreciate all the wisdom you drop. 5 Speed Unleashed. Boston Ray. Damn, Flat Earth Nation. Marcel. In the Groove. Maybe I'll go live later, I don't know. But I'm out. Peace.